Starting a renovation project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for all your essentials at our 10 stores island-wide. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A Pure Water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
News at 5 teasers are brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Roby Ann Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort is hoping the Prime Minister and the opposition leader can settle their differences over the constitutional reform process.
I am keeping faith that our leaders will find the maturity that is required. We must lead and look beyond elections.
PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell says concerns surrounding Mark Golding's dual citizenship should be addressed through the current constitutional reform process.
If it is so important and essential to governance in the country, why aren't we lobbying to put it in the new constitution?
The BOJ says it's already seen a positive change in the commercial banking sector in response to its new guaranteed service standards for automated banking machines.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he's deeply saddened by the tragic loss of Gleaner sports journalist Job Nelson.
Another set of Haitians was apprehended by the Portland police this morning.
In news from the rest of the world, rare tornado hits Haiti, injuring more than 50 people and leaving hundreds homeless.
U.S. is signaling support for possible ICC sanctions over Israel warrants.
In headline sports, Travis Michael sets new meet record to win men's discus event in the south of France today.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, the Press Association and media practitioners expressing shock and outrage over the murder of Gleaner sports journalist Job Nelson. PAJ President Milton Walker and journalists Rohan Powell and Durant Pate will join us.
In public opinion at 6:26, we ask, should the Prime Minister and opposition leader have a face-to-face discussion about the constitutional reform impasse? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, Barita Investments and its parent company Cornerstone will have new CEOs, Ramon Small Ferguson and Dane Broadber. Both men will join us to discuss the way forward for both companies.
At 7, it's Think Like a Stockbroker with Chevon Campbell.
And at 8, it's Boyertings After Dark with Kareem Boyertings Weathers. All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday, May 22, 2024.
News at 5 teasers were brought to you by Advanced Scales and Equipment. Service is our total commitment.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, Marlene Malahoo Fort, says she hopes both Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Opposition Leader Mark Golding can settle their differences for the sake of the constitutional reform process. Minister Malahoo Fort was speaking Wednesday morning during a media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister in St. Andrew. Mahiri Stewart reports.
The constitutional reform process stalled last week after opposition leader Mark Golding declared that he would not support the agenda. Mr. Golding stated that Jamaica's move from a British monarchy must be paired with the country also leaving the London-based Privy Council and adopting the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ, as our final appellate court. Prime Minister Andrew Holness expressed his displeasure at Mr. Golding's stance. Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort says the last meeting between the Prime Minister and opposition leader on the matter of constitutional reform was in April.
The last time the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister spoke, to my knowledge, was after the report was generated behind the Speaker's chair at the Parliament, and I know that there is some follow-up will take place. I think Cabinet only finalized its consideration on the report yesterday, and I know that based on the deliberations and the decisions taken, follow-up meetings will take place.
The opposition leader had made reference to this meeting in his open letter to the Prime Minister dated May 7. In that letter, Mr. Golding highlighted his concerns about the reform process. Minister Malahoo Forte says her desire is for both leaders to put their differences aside in order for the constitutional reform process to continue.
I am keeping faith that the quarrels will die down, that the wounds will heal, and that our leaders will find the maturity that is required. I believe that we must lead and look beyond elections and continue to hold the interest of the nation before us. I believe that we cannot fail as others behind us have failed, and it is our hope that those who come after us will find us faithful.
The Legal Affairs Minister adds that the bill to replace the monarchy as head of state is being worked on by the committee.
Cabinet has approved the issuance of drafting instructions for the preparation of the bill, so we're now going to be preparing those instructions based on what will be implemented from the recommendations. There is work to be done, but we are working because we believe that we must go forward. We must go forward. It is the right thing to do. We are agreed that the monarchy should be abolished and a republican form of government be established.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell, says any concerns surrounding opposition leader Mark Golding's dual citizenship should be addressed through the current constitutional reform process. Dr. Campbell is reacting to Prime Minister Andrew Holness's assertion that dual citizens should not be allowed to lead the country. He says the position adopted by Mr. Holness is a violation of the country's constitution. Shalois Michael tells us more.
According to Prime Minister Holness, he's not against individuals with a dual citizenship constituting the parliament. However, he believes once that individual aspires to lead the country, for them to remain a dual citizen is not just untenable but is also incurable. But Dr. Dayton Campbell says the opposition leader is not obligated to follow the opinion of Mr. Holness.
No, we are a country that is governed by laws. We do have a constitution. So if I disagree with something, I cannot determine that somebody is obligated to follow my views unless, one, it is violating the current constitution. If it isn't violating the current constitution, then guess what? I'm in luck because we're currently reviewing the constitution. So what I ought to do is to lobby to get those provisions in the new constitution.
A report from the Constitutional Reform Committee, CRC, was tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. It does not expressly recommend that a dual citizen be barred from serving either in the nation's parliament or as Prime Minister. The report simply recommends that Jamaican citizenship should be the essential qualifying citizenship criterion for membership in Parliament.
So whether it is Prime Minister, any other politician, members of the media, members of civil society, they cannot determine that somebody has an obligation to do something that is, one, not violating the current constitution, or two, they haven't seen it fit to put it in the new constitution. If it is so important and essential to governance in the country, why aren't we lobbying to put it in the new constitution?
Dr. Campbell says a wider consultation should be pursued on the topic with greater input from the Jamaican people. However, he rejects what he calls mere assertions from the Prime Minister as the basis of legislative reform.
If something is a problem, let us get it in the Constitution so that we can get a rule that governs it. What we cannot have is a Prime Minister who says, all right, if you're an MP, you can be a dual citizen, but if you're going to be the one trying to take my job running against me, then you're not allowed to do so. That is almost like jailing your opponent.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, West Portland MP Daryl Vaz says Mr. Golding's constant hypocrisy on the matter of constitutional reform has placed him under increasing pressure concerning his dual citizenship. Mr. Vaz points to December 2021 private member's motion moved by opposition MP Michael Phillips calling for a move away from the British monarch.
Be it resolved that this Parliament mandates the government to A. Take the necessary steps in accordance with the Constitution to remove the British monarch as Jamaica's head of state and establish a new head of state of Jamaica to be known as the President of Jamaica. B. Appoint a small committee of appropriate professionals to undertake a 6-month public education exercise on the desirability of having a republican system of government instead of a monarchical one. And C. Thereafter, hold a national referendum to approve the necessary constitutional changes, and be it further resolved that Jamaica takes these immediate steps to finally repatriate this fundamental symbol of Jamaican sovereignty.
The West Portland MP says Mr. Golding has since made an about-turn on this position. He says, following the revelations that Golding is a British citizen, his current stance regarding the constitutional reform agenda is hypocritical.
It is most hypocritical and a political conflict that a British citizen with one foot in Jamaica and one foot in the King's Yard is being allowed to impede our removal of the monarchy and our progress to republic status. One foot in was a suggestion Mark Golding made during the 2021 budget presentation. In the debate, Golding stated clearly, we should begin with the things that we already agree on. This has seemingly changed and has exposed this deceitful and disingenuous position on so many of the political issues in the past, including the compensation packages, the Speaker of the House, the Transport Sector Committee, and the Constitutional Review, among others.
Daryl Vaz, MP for West Portland.
Nationwide News understands that a police officer died last night while at work. He has been identified as Sergeant Christopher Gordon. He was 48 years old. Sergeant Gordon was reported on duty at the Halfway Tree Police Station in the St. Andrew Central Division when he complained to some colleagues that he was tired. He told them he was going to rest. When he failed to return after some time, they went in search of him. They found Sergeant Gordon unresponsive at the lockups. He was rushed to the Kingston Public Hospital where he was pronounced dead.
The Central Bank, the Bank of Jamaica, says it's already seen a positive change in the commercial banking sector in response to its new Guaranteed Service Standards for Automated Banking Machines, ABMs. The BOJ gave an update on the initiative during its quarterly monetary policy media briefing on Tuesday. BOJ Governor Richard Biles also sought to assure Jamaicans that the central bank would institute monetary penalties to better hold deposit-taking institutions to account. Siobhan Campbell has more.
In April this year, the Bank of Jamaica issued new service-level standards as guidelines for the operation of automated banking machines, ABMs, by deposit-taking institutions. These include minimum standards regarding the availability of ABMs and restocking times for machines without cash. Deputy Governor of the BOJ, G.D. Lewis, says since inception they've seen positive change among commercial banks.
Since we've started publishing, what we can see is that there's been significant improvement in the percentage of ABMs that are operational. So Jamaica has 890 ABMs across the island, and in January only 93% of those were operational. That number has jumped to 97%, and every single parish has ABMs operational 90% and more. What that basically means is about 38, maybe 40 ABMs have been commissioned into service or fixed and reintroduced into service.
However, Mr. Lewis says uptime for ABMs still hasn't reached an acceptable standard.
Where we're still seeing areas for improvement would be the uptime. We're still seeing uptimes of around 91, 90%, and the service level standard requires 95% uptime. So of the percentage of ABMs that we have operational, they need to be up and running in a 24-hour period 95% of that time. So there's still some improvement there, and in terms of recovery time, we're still seeing where it's taking between 4 to 5 hours for ABMs once they're down to be brought back into commission. And the service level standard has that as 60 minutes for urban areas and resort areas and 3 hours for what we are terming as rural areas.
Meanwhile, in addressing criticisms that there are no monetary penalties accompanying the service standards, BOJ Governor Richard Biles says this will be addressed in updated legislation.
In the new legislation that we are building now, yes, there will be penalties for trespassing on basic service standards, and I think that is natural and the sector must expect that. Well, I think it depends on what is a breach that has been committed. Is it a breach that the customer should be put back in a position they were before? Or is it a breach that the company is making generally and the company must pay the price out? In which case it is to the general benefit of either BOJ or some fund that is set up. The government.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
16 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
31 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Straight from the rock so it flows. Enjoy life letting go. Feel the breeze, mountain reach, water clean, nature green. Everything's good with Catherine Speed. Rain or sun is shining, Mother Nature's blessings. Nature green, everything's good with Catherine Speed.
Continuing the news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he's deeply saddened by the tragic loss of Gleaner sports journalist Job Nelson. Nelson was shot and killed on Collie Smith Drive in St. Andrew Tuesday night. In a post to his social media platforms on Wednesday, Prime Minister Holness says Nelson was not just a remarkable professional, but also a cherished member of our community. He says it's heartbreaking to hear that Nelson lost his life in such a senseless act of violence. PM Holness described Nelson as a talented journalist who is a fellow alumnus of St. Catherine High. He adds that the loss feels even more personal because they both shared the halls of St. Catherine High. PM Holness says Nelson's contributions to journalism and his dedication to bringing the truth to light were commendable and he will be sorely missed. The post was accompanied by photos of Nelson interviewing the Prime Minister. The Press Association of Jamaica PAJ and colleagues of the profession have expressed condolences to Nelson's family during this difficult time.
Nationwide News understands that another set of Haitians was apprehended by the Portland police on Wednesday morning. They were intercepted after the bus in which they were traveling developed mechanical problems. It's understood at least 12 individuals, including women and children, were held. The refugees are believed to be from the group of 50 which arrived in the island by boat on Monday. 10 of them were apprehended the same day. Attorney-at-law and founder of the human rights group Freedom Imaginaries, Malene Alain, who first spoke with her news center on Tuesday, said she was barred from speaking with the detainees. 24 hours later, the situation remains unchanged.
The newest member of the executive of the Holness administration, Senator Abka Fitz-Henley, says he welcomes the opportunity to assist in devising policies that bring tangible benefits to the people of Jamaica. Mr. Fitz-Henley was sworn in today at King's House as Parliamentary Secretary in the office of the Prime Minister. He told the ceremony that he recognizes that the opportunity afforded to him by Prime Minister Andrew Holness is not a platform for self-promotion.
But it requires a deep and serious commitment to advancing the interest of the people of Jamaica. Sir Patrick, I listened to you very carefully, and I wish to indicate to you that I will be guided by your wise counsel. I want to say to the people of Jamaica that I am not one who is caught up with the trappings of office. I recognize that an appointment such as this is an opportunity to zealously seek to advance their interest and secure their well-being. Thank you, His Excellency.
Senator Abka Fitz-Henley. The swearing-in ceremony was also attended by Senate President Tom Tavares Finson, along with Cabinet Ministers Marlene Malahoo Fort, Matthew Samuda, Dr. Dana Dixon Morris, and Robert Nesta Morgan. Governor General Sir Patrick Allen also addressed the gathering, saying to Abka Fitz-Henley to be aware that there are young people who are looking at and observing his rise in the political arena.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
A rare tornado hit northern Haiti on Tuesday, leaving more than 50 people injured. The United Nations, the UN, says the weather event also destroyed more than 200 homes in the community of Bassambou. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says more than 300 families have been left homeless. At least 10 of the 50 injured persons were hospitalized with serious injuries.
U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has suggested working with lawmakers on potential sanctions against the International Criminal Court, ICC. His comments follow the ICC's decision to seek arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials. The ICC's chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, announced on Monday that he had applied for arrest warrants against Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. However, U.S. President Joe Biden described the move by Khan as outrageous. Blinken told a congressional hearing that he was committed to taking action against the profoundly wrong-headed decision.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories in nationwide news at this hour. Constitutional Affairs Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort hopes the Prime Minister and the opposition leader can settle their differences over the constitutional reform process.
I am keeping faith that our leaders will find the maturity that is required. We must lead and look beyond elections.
PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell says concerns surrounding Mark Golding's dual citizenship should be addressed through the current constitutional reform process.
If it is so important and essential to governance in the country, why aren't we lobbying to put it in the new constitution?
The BOJ says it's already seen a positive change in the commercial banking sector in response to its new guaranteed service standards for automated banking machines.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he's deeply saddened by the tragic loss of Gleaner sports journalist Job Nelson.
I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Robeanne Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Drive
Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 5.99% interest rate. Yes, shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 5.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 5.99%. Conditions apply.
Your voice matters, and it's making a difference. In January 2023, you are invited to share valuable feedback on the draft regulations for our National Identification System NIDS. Thanks to your input, these regulations have been enhanced and are now being tabled for Parliament's consideration. Follow the debates and get the latest updates on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Together, we're building a brighter, more secure future for Jamaica.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaica's Travis Michael today set a new meet record to win the men's discus at a World Athletics Continental Bronze event in Marseille, France today. Michael threw 65 meters 61 to win ahead of Philipp Malinov of Germany, who logged a 63 meters 90. Meanwhile, the joint second fastest man in history, Johan Blake, was today disqualified after crossing the line third in the final of the men's 100 meters at the Raiffeisen Open Track and Field meeting in Vienna, Austria. Blake won his heat in 10.16 seconds but was outpaced in the final and crossed the line third in 10.26 seconds. However, he was later disqualified. Nago Head of St. Catherine won the InSports Devon Biscuit Primary Schools Athletics Championships by 30.5 points at the National Stadium today. Nago Head, who are the central champions, have amassed 193 points, well clear of License of St. Thomas, 162.5 points. Greater Portmore finished the third, 94 points. Spanish Town Primary fourth on 77, while St. John's Primary completed the top five with 72.5 points. 5 records were broken on the second day. In the first final of the day, Yashika Lewis of Gregory Park broke the girls' cricket ball open throw with a 49 meters 22. President of the J3's Garth Gale gives the championships his full support.
This is one of the fundamental foundation programs because here is one of the real true grassroots competition, and InSport has gotten it right because they have it in 3 zones across the island and culminate with a grand final. And so the J3s, we are very proud. We give full support to the organization of this event, and we will continue to give full support as long as Institute of Sports continue to have it, and we wish them to continue to have it.
President of the J3 is Garth Gale. Minister of Sport Olivia Green says she's impressed with the proposal put forward by global sports goods manufacturers Adidas to be the title sponsors for Jamaica's track and field program. On April 10 of this year, Nationwide Sports first reported that Adidas proposed to pump well over 5 billion Jamaican dollars over 8 years into the country's track and field program. The proposed deal is laden with incentives, including a deal to develop the country's sporting infrastructure valued at $250,000 for 8 years. Under the proposed deal, Adidas intends to make available close to $3 million or 441 million Jamaican dollars a year in cash to the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association for 8 years. In addition, $2,180,000 in equipment will be put aside per year, with $2 million of that in general products and $50,000 per year in products for the next generation of Jamaican athletes. There's also a 10% royalty bonus per year from sales of Adidas apparel. Minister Green says she has spoken with members of the J3's board about the proposal.
I spoke to J3's about this, and they have indicated they are into an agreement and there are obligations. So I really can't argue with them about that. I also understand that Adidas offer is very attractive and could also benefit the improvement of our sports infrastructure, which I would welcome.
Minister Green says any endorsement deals signed by Jamaica sports associations should be symbiotic.
We know we need proper infrastructure throughout that, and we would welcome the manufacturers, the giants in the industry to come on board. It's not just about getting our elite athletes to endorse your company and endorse your sportswear. It's about a country wanting to further enhance its prowess and developing human beings. Our athletes are good at what they do, and we don't want to feel like we are just being exploited. We want to feel that those who benefit from our success should also feel obliged to give support to the development of our institution.
That's Sports Minister Olivia Grange. Nationwide Sports can confirm that Adidas has formally forwarded the proposal to the J3s, who have acknowledged receipt. The West Indies and South Africa will meet in the first game of their three-match T20 International Series at Sabina Park tomorrow, starting at 2 p.m. The series comes 10 days before the start of the ICC World Cup, so the teams will see it as a welcome preparation ahead of the global showpiece. Jamaican opener Brandon King, who will lead the West Indies in the absence of the regular captain, Rovman Powell, says the series will give the team an indication of their true readiness for the World Cup.
The camp was just purely a training camp, so there's nothing that can replicate much in a situation. So it's good that we have this series leading into the World Cup. So we look into all the plans that we've made, over the last week or so. We're looking to implement them in this series. It's good that we have that level of competition, very good field to play against. But if you look at the last three series that we played, as a group, where they were also against tough teams, India, England, those other teams, and we did well against them. So we know where we're at. We just want to try and carry a good momentum into the World Cup.
That's Brandon King. The other two games will be played on Saturday and Sunday, also starting at 2 p.m. The West Indies will play one warm-up game before the World Cup. That will be against Australia at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad on May 30. Their opening game at the World Cup will be against Papua New Guinea on June 2 at Providence in Guyana. It's now time for the Nationwide Olympic Facts, sponsored by Fontana Pharmacy.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
Did you know that Jamaica finished 20th on the medals table at the 1948 Olympics? Yes, that's a fact. At the 1948 Olympics in London, Jamaica finished 20th on the medals table out of 59 countries with 1 gold and 2 silver medals.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Fontana Pharmacy. It's all good inside.
That's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Hyundai, the home of modern, premium, affordable vehicles. Call us at 876-630-1511. The time by Hyundai is
5:31.
You didn't know that the government decreased JUTC bus fares? Yes, it's now 70 for adults, 25 for children, and 30 for pensioners. And in April, fares will go down even further to 50 for adults, 20 for children, and 25 for pensioners.
The temperature by the office of the Prime Minister is
31 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 29 in the western city, Montego Bay.
If you save, pay, borrow, invest, or insure with NCB, now it's time to own a part of the NCB Financial Group Limited in its additional public offer. For as little as $6,500 in the general pool, you can own shares in the business built on strong performance and making life better for all Jamaicans. Invest in our future. Invest in your future. Offer opens May 6 and closes May 27. Apply for shares at goipo.jncb.com. Conditions apply.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest style. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the tile. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
Welcome Deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. When you good, you just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go off and buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome Deluxe, The cream cracker that rises to the top. So crisp, so light, so buttery. National Baking Company, just so good.
Plan your tomorrow today. Introducing JMMB's Hello Future Retirement Planning website. Figure out how much you'll need to be set for life with our calculated tools and tips at your fingertips. Visit hellofuture.jmmb.com and start your journey to your dream retirement today. Conditions apply.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between. Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings, each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m. Boyatings After Dark. No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored. Boyatings After Dark.
This Labor Day, Thursday, May 23, 2024, Nationwide 90 FM will bring you the news at special times, 9 a.m., 12 midday, and 5 p.m. That's the Labor Day edition of the news on Nationwide 90 FM at special times, 9 a.m., 12 midday, and 5 p.m. Regular news programming returns on Friday, May 24.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Drive Hyundai Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 5.99% interest rate. Yes, shop Hyundai Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 5.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 5.99%. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Good afternoon, Siobhan.
Good afternoon, Sir Hughes.
Good. It's 25 minutes going up to 6 o'clock, and in our cover story this afternoon, tributes are being paid to sports journalist, the Gleaner's Job Nelson. Job was shot and killed on College Smith Drive in St. Andrew last night. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says it's heartbreaking to hear that Job lost his life in such a senseless act of violence.
In a post to his social media platforms on Wednesday, the Prime Minister says Nelson's contributions to journalism and his dedication to bringing the truth to light were commendable and he'll be sorely missed. The Press Association of Jamaica also says Nelson's untimely death is a profound loss to the journalism community.
It says Mr. Nelson was an esteemed member of the media fraternity who made invaluable contributions to various publications throughout his career, including the Jamaica Record, the Herald, X-News, Loop, and the Gleaner. It says with his versatile skills as a reporter, sub-editor, and page planner, Job Nelson played an integral role in shaping numerous publications and projects over the years.
The PAJ is extending deepest condolences to Nelson's family, friends, and colleagues during this difficult time. Nelson's current editor in the sports department at the Gleaner, Paul Andre Walker, says the work family is in shock.
We are all shocked at not just the loss of Job, but the nature of losing Job. He wasn't ill, and if anybody knows Job, he is a pacifist by nature. He is the person least likely to be the cause of an argument, and the person most likely to end an argument amicably. And therefore there is a significant sense of irony when we think that his passing was brought about by violence.
Paul Andre Walker, sports editor at the Gleaner, speaking with Nationwide News. Well, joining us to discuss further the work and life of Job Nelson, we have with us journalist Rohan Powell and the president of the Press Association of Jamaica, Milton Walker. Milton Walker will be joining us a little later. So we have Rohan Powell. Good afternoon, Rohan.
Good afternoon, Cliff. Good afternoon, Siobhan.
Tell us about Job Nelson, your colleague and friend.
Job was a hard worker. Let's start with there. Very diligent individual. I was listening to your preamble just now, and what hit me also was the issue that not only was a journalist, stroke a writer, you mentioned about paginator, and his production skills were impeccable. When for our listeners, a paginator is the individual who actually does the final makeup or mock of the production for the paper, and that would be placed digitally, and that would now be placed, sent to the press room, and from there, the product you have in your hands in the morning, the newspaper, would be the work of Job and his other colleagues who would be involved in the pagination department. But to speak about the other side of Job in respect of his work as a journalist, Job was somebody who I would have known 30 years ago or more, I should say, but I can leave it at least 30 years. And we would have started at what would have been then the Jamaica Record, our journalism career. Myself, Arthur Hall, Durant Pate, a number of other colleagues, all the boys, close friends. We were very close, and we started, we wet our foot there at Jamaica Record. Joe would also have assisted in working alongside his colleagues at the X News and Enquirer, which was a spin-off of the Jamaica Record as well. And you would have seen immediately how Job work transcended the journalism. Job would have honed his skills in every single area that you could have thought of in terms of sports, news. Job would do business. Job was a well-rounded reporter.
Wow. We also have on the line Durant Pate. Can you give us your... Mr. Pate is there, correct? Yes.
I'm here.
Your reaction to the untimely passing of Mr. Nelson?
Well, I was listening to Nationwide at about minutes to 7. I heard George mention the news. He mentioned about a journalist. He also mentioned about someone who has been through a number of media houses. Then he mentioned the motor vehicle, a Honda. There was someone I had in mind, close friend of ours. I was hoping it would not be him, but it wasn't him, but unfortunately it was Job. Rowan talked about the Jamaica Record days. We were both there. Myself and Job would have been the youngest reporter on the team. Job was hardworking, as Rowan said. In terms of every aspect of the publication, Job had some knowledge. Pagination, designing the page. He knew the works, he went through the works. Job actually was literally a one-man band, particularly at a publication that Mr. Hughes knows so well. He was a one-man band. They say strong man cry, weak man don't show their emotions. When I heard the news after 7 o'clock that it was Job, I will admit I was moved with tears, but I tried to hold it back. Job is someone I shared a lot of fun memories, challenges we would discuss. We would have a drink now and then, and that was also one of Job's pastime. We would imbibe and socialize. For me, Job was like a brother from a different mother. And I should also say that Job also has a brother older than he that was also in journalism, Mark Nelson. So we were like brothers.
Yes. Rohan, Job Nelson, you said he was an all-rounder, multi-skilled. Yes? But what did he enjoy doing most?
They say a journalist should be true to his profession. And a question like that, I will tell you, Joe was committed to his job as a journalist. First and foremost, Joe would be the one who would have wanted to ensure that every aspect of the story that he was working on, whether it be news, sports, business, or otherwise, that he would get the utmost of details, and those details would show up in the story or the copy that he would present to his editor. Job was a creative writer, I would describe him as. he had a good command of how you should actually put together that story so that it would leave the readers, if not in awe, they would at least understand that, yes, it's as if they were there and immersed in the particular subject matter that he was writing on. But as I said, to be truth and frankful, somehow most journalists, whether it be male or female, would know or seem to just be drawn to be called to the bar. And when I say called to the bar, I'm not speaking about as an attorney in the legal profession. It seems as if the creative skills of an individual who works in journalism, oftentimes you'd have to take a break, go to the nearest watering hole, and once you have wet your lips and you're back at your desk, somehow the energies, the creative juices just get flowing. Those are Job's two best and most pastimes.
Let me say, it is just one of our coping skills. Journalism is a very, very... Oh, sorry. My daughter is distracting me. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Right. It's part of our coping skill. It's very stressful. It's tedious. After a long, hard day, you need something to just unwind and relax. And having a smooth drink, fellowshipping with others was just the way some of us do it. And that's just Job's way of doing it.
Yes.
We're up on the break, gentlemen. Please stay on the line.
Clearing personal non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
5:45.
Drive Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 5.99% interest rate. Yes, shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 5.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 5.99%. Conditions apply.
Building wealth the smart way means you have a clear mission for your money. Specific and measurable means defining the reason for your financial goals. Achievable and realistic means keeping those goals meaningful, yet attainable. Think more retirement, less world's richest. Timely means keeping a time frame in mind so that all efforts remain focused.
Visit barita.com/opportunities for more growth coach insights.
Welcome back to the cover story as we reflect upon the life of sports journalist Job Nelson. Mr. Nelson was unfortunately killed on Collie Smith Drive in St. Andrew last evening. We have on the line with us two journalists, Rowan Powell and Durand Pate, as well as being joined by the president of the Press Association of Jamaica, Milton Walker. Good afternoon, Mr. Walker. You're there?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm here.
Mr. Walker, did you know Job Nelson personally? Do you have any insights that you'd like to share with us?
Job has been in the profession for the last 35 years, so I've known Job over the years. Mm-hmm.
And what is your reflection on his work and life as a journalist?
A quiet, calm, affable man. Dedicated to the profession. You know, Job has worked mainly in print. He's worked one of the original employees, I think, of the Jamaica Record, which started. That would have been the first serious competition to the Gleaner at the time. I think in '89. The last one being the Daily News, which folded in 1981. And I think he also worked at the Herald, the Loop, the Gleaner. On two occasions, he's currently in his second, or was in his second sojourn at the Gleaner. But he's been mainly sports, but I think he's also done some news journalism as well.
Certainly, Mr. Walker, this incident has really brought home to a lot of people that there is no profession, no individual who can be spared from crime and violence in this country.
No. Well, I think that myth had long been shattered. Nobody is safe in this country. The senselessness, the randomness of this is somebody driving home on a public thoroughfare at a traffic light before 11 o'clock. And someone just drives up and shots him. Just like that. That could be anybody.
Yeah.
It could be anybody.
And that's all we know so far, Milton, Durant, or Rohan, as to the circumstances, because it sounds so random.
Right. And my thing, though, Cliff, when I reconcile the personality of Job, right? Job is a very humble person. There are some of us who flex our muscles. Job is not one of them. He is like the meek one. He'll rather compromise rather than flex his muscles. So when I look at that personality, I can't fathom what if he did anything at all, to have caused his death. I should also tell you, I smiled when I read a post. I think it was posted by his brother Mark, and it was a reaction from his daughter Jody, who said that she would have expected him to meet his demise, or him to go the way of the battle rather than the way of the gun.
Wow.
Yeah, Cliff, Siobhan, Milton, we can't fool ourselves. We are in a profession. We don't know that whatever story we have written, what we have done on and off the jobs, could come to haunt us. So we will not speculate, but as journalists, we cannot. I spoke to police officers today, and they said they are not able to indicate in no way, shape, or form what exactly could have led to Job an untimely death. So they are just investigating every angle. The police, I gather, would have went back to the scene this morning of the crime to probably do additional mopping up and probably taking extra photographs of the crime scene, etc., to see if they could pick up any evidence. But as it now stands, it is unclear, I should say, what exactly could have been the motive. So we have to keep an open mind. But I'm glad Durant had raised the issue of the family aspect of it. His daughter Jody. Job was very, very close to his daughter and his brother Mark.
And awfully proud of her as well.
Very much so, yes, because she's a old Marian, true. So much so. And Job, would have been from St. Catherine's, the alma mater of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
But that aside, Mark would have been very close to his brother as well. And Mark himself was a practicing journalist. He's now working outside of the country. But I spoke to Mark today. Mark is really, really taking it hard, but he's trying to put on a brave face. In the scheme of things, he has asked that he kept up to date. He's in the region, not North America. Keep him as best as possible, and in leave that we may hear anything close to the issue itself, we try and provide information with him. And he has been receiving a lot of phone calls and so on from close friends, relatives, expressing their condolences. But just to say that Mark, the family, it was a close-knit family, and I would have been privy to at times when Mark would have given Job a stern chat as it relates to, things concerning himself, but they lived very well with. So I must say the family was very close to the Nelsons.
Milton Walker, this is the first time not the first time, I'm thinking of a couple others who we have lost.
No, I think we can remember when Shari Genus, the TVJ reporter, was killed, I think, I'm not sure if it was her father some years ago.
It was her father, and her father at the time was a policeman.
Right, yes. It was her father, yes. And I think also Vincent Tolo, some years before that in the
Red Hills Road area here.
You also had Harry Clahar.
Yeah.
Yes, Harry Clahar, yes.
Harry.
Yes. Yeah, but it's
it's just incredibly sad, and it also is. We're in a difficult profession, right? Because we are exposed to crime and violence in our work. We have to cover it. We're journalists in a violent society, and I know that there are journalists and different media houses who have had to get counseling to deal with this, and our group, and I know others have, and I think you also, Cliff, have different mechanisms and strategies to help reporters in this. We had a case last year of the shooting incident at NNN. But when one of your own is murdered, it's a gut punch.
Yeah.
This is someone who our colleagues at the Cleaner were fellowshipping with at the sports club last night. He left the sports club and was clearly heading home, and was at this traffic light on Spanish Town Road, and somebody just shots him just like that. That could be anybody.
Yeah. Where was home for him?
He lived in
Old Harbour.
In Old Harbour.
Oh. He was on his way home. Boy. Well, gentlemen, how are the team members at the Gleaner coping, Milton?
It's been a difficult day. I was at the Gleaner. We had another work meeting there. I spoke to Moya, and it's just been a difficult day. And I was speaking with Erica elsewhere, Virtue. The teams it's like they're numb. Yeah, and it's just been a difficult day, and it will be difficult over the next few days, and perhaps for some time.
Why? We can only, offer them more sympathies or condolences, and to Job's family members, this is far too frequent in Jamaica, in this country. I often say, this kind of violence and death are constant companions that we would rather not have. But this is the Jamaica we live in. Yeah.
We can't escape it.
Yeah.
Right, and I would urge my colleagues, we are in the firing line because of our profession. So at all times, we need to be sensitive about what's around us. We need to be cognizant of our environment, and we need always to be on our guard.
Yep. Thank you very much, Durant Pate, Rohan Powell, and the president of the Press Association of Jamaica, Milton Walker. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. That's a cover story. The headlines at 6 are next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
This Labor Day, Thursday, May 23, 2024, Nationwide 90 FM will bring you the news at special times, 9 a.m., 12 midday, and 5 p.m. That's the Labor Day edition of the news on Nationwide 90 FM at special times, 9 a.m., 12 midday, and 5 p.m. Regular news programming returns on Friday, May 24.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
Jamaica first participated at the Olympic Games in 1948, and our first medal was gold when Arthur Wint won the men's 400 meters in 46.2 seconds. As a pilot in the Royal Air Force during World War II, he continued his training whenever possible throughout the war. Many believe a 28-year-old Wint was too old and past his prime.
Well, I was hoping that if and when there was another Olympic Games, I might make it. But initially, it was the one thing I could do well, and I was determined wherever I was in the Air Force to take my running shoes along and take part in whatever competitions they were going.
With sheer determination, the 6 feet 4 inch tall Wint gave Jamaica its first ever Olympic victory and its first gold medal.
The 400 meters final, a British Commonwealth United States battle with McKinley and Wint of Jamaica and Whitfield of the USA. The ROF world record holder McKinley dashes into the lead, and at the halfway mark is almost 10 yards up on the rest of the field. Coming into the home stretch, it's Wint who challenges the leader. 50 yards from the tape, it seemed impossible that he could do it, but he comes through with a magnificent effort to equal the Olympic record time of 46.2 seconds.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
Public opinions.
Stop this foolish about this GLP and PMP business. We are Jamaican.
Different people.
It's not a matter of a JLP or a PMP. I think it's more like where it is that you think you're comfortable, what support you can afford to make the country better.
Different views.
Most entertainers, they're not amenable to management, so the only thing that can ultimately structure them is the court and the prison.
Public opinion. The voice of the people at 6:25 p.m. weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Tune into Nationwide at 6:25 p.m. for Public Opinion, where the people's views matter.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Say hello to peace of mind and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan and secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness today. Call 888-367-5433 for details.
The time by Guardian Life is
6 o'clock.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs, from luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs Marlene Malahou Forte says she hopes both Prime Minister Andrew Holness and Opposition Leader Mark Golding can settle their differences for the sake of the constitutional reform process. Minister Malahou Forte was speaking Wednesday morning during a media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister in St. Andrew. Minister Marlene Malahou Forte says the last meeting between the Prime Minister and the opposition leader on the matter of constitutional reform was in April.
The last time the leader of the opposition and the Prime Minister spoke, to my knowledge, was after the report was generated behind the Speaker's chair at the Parliament, and I know that there is some follow-up will take place. I think Cabinet only finalized its consideration on the report yesterday, and I know that based on the deliberations and the decisions taken, follow-up meetings will take place.
The opposition leader had made reference to this meeting in his open letter to the Prime Minister dated May 7. In that letter, Mr. Golding highlighted his concerns about the reform process. Minister Malahou Forte says her desire is for both leaders to put their differences aside in order for the constitutional reform process to continue.
I am keeping faith that the quarrels will die down, that the wounds will heal, and that our leaders will find the maturity that is required. I believe that we must lead and look beyond elections and continue to hold the interest of the nation before us. I believe that we cannot fail as others behind us have failed, and it is our hope that those who come after us will find us faithful.
Marlene Malahou Forte, Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs. General Secretary of the People's National Party, Dr. Dayton Campbell, says any concerns surrounding opposition leader Mark Golding's dual citizenship should be addressed through the current constitutional reform process. Dr. Campbell is reacting to Prime Minister Andrew Holness's assertion that dual citizens should not be allowed to lead the country. He says the position adopted by Mr. Holness is a violation of the country's constitution. According to Prime Minister Holness, he's not against individuals with dual citizenship constituting in the parliament. However, he believes once that individual aspires to lead the country, for them to remain a dual citizen is not just untenable, but is also incurable. But Dr. Campbell says the opposition leader is not obligated to follow the opinion of Mr. Holness.
No, we are a country that is governed by laws. We do have a constitution. So if I disagree with something, I cannot determine that somebody is obligated to follow my views unless, one, it is violating the current constitution. If it isn't violating the current constitution, then guess what? I'm in luck because we're currently reviewing the constitution. So what I ought to do is to lobby to get those provisions in the new constitution.
Dr. Dayton Campbell, PNP General Secretary. The PNP Patriots have expressed concern over what they say is the Prime Minister's continued disregard for the Jamaican Constitution. The Patriots voiced their discontent in a media release on Wednesday. They say Prime Minister Andrew Holness's disregard was evident through an unfounded attack on opposition leader Mark Golding's citizenship and right to represent Jamaicans. The Patriots say they are left no choice but to question the Prime Minister's motives for hastily pushing ahead with the reform process without engaging Jamaican society. According to the Patriots, Prime Minister Holness has fumbled constitutional matters on numerous occasions. Minister of Culture Olivia Grange says the decision to focus on the elderly and persons with disabilities for Labor Day in 2024 is a human rights response. According to Minister Grange, there are serious concerns about limited access to services for the groups.
There is concern about the lack of access of people with disabilities and or impairments as well as the elderly to services and to participate equally in socially valued goods, opportunities, resources, and rewards. If every person cannot access buildings or public spaces as well as social and financial benefits, then their rights to association, to expression, and equality are being negatively impacted.
The National Labor Day project for 2024 is the Institute of Jamaica in downtown Kingston, where a ramp will be installed. Minister Grange explains that Phase 2 of the project will involve the installation of an elevator.
The National Labor Day project will focus on the creation of a ramp at the Institute of Jamaica, and the ramp would be the first phase of establishing greater access for persons with disability. So ramp is Phase 1, and the installation of an elevator would be Phase 2 of this project.
Olivia Grange, Minister of Culture. Former chairman of the Jamaica Police Federation, Corporal Rohan James, says he's made efforts to influence the outcome of Wednesday's vote on the group's new central executive. The Federation, which represents rank-and-file members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, is expected to announce its new central executive on Wednesday. Wednesday's vote will also choose a new chairman for the Federation. Its current chairman is Inspector Blanche Codner. Inspector Codner replaced Corporal James, whose term was cut short after he was interdicted by the Police High Command over comments he made at a colleague's funeral last year. While tight-lipped on his preferred choice, Corporal James told journalists on Tuesday that he has provided guidance on the new executive.
I'm not able to offer myself, but I will seek to influence the best possible representatives to take the members' business seriously and forward.
Who are you carrying?
I keep that card close to my chest. But one thing to say for sure, I have given strategic guidance as to what it is that should emanate from my interaction and presence.
Corporal Rohan James, former chairman of the Jamaica Police Federation. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
Invest in Jamaica and make your money grow. Invest in Mayberry Jamaican Equities Bond, a safe and purposeful way to invest. How? We carefully invest your funds in top local companies, empowering you to profit from multiple businesses, not just one. With a minimum investment of just $20,000 and an interest rate of up to 10.5% per annum, it's more than just growth. It's profit with purpose. Discover more at www.profitwithpurposeja.com or contact your investment advisor for full details. Profit with purpose. Invest with Mayberry.
Super Center, everything for your home and more.
And we mean everything, not just houseware and appliances. At Zan Super Center, we have furniture too. Furniture for your living room, dining room, bedroom, kitchen, and more. Low on cash? At Zan Super Center, we have layaway plans. Don't delay. Come in today.
Zan Super Center, we're gonna make you smile. Zan Super Center, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
This outstanding 6'4" athlete credits Jamaica with her first Olympic victory ever.
Jamaica is filled with Olympians.
World record holder McKinley dashes into the lead.
We must never forget the forerunners of Jamaican Olympic greatness.
Coming into the home stretch, it's Wint who challenges the leader.
Win or lose, athletes never forget their Olympic experience.
Merely Notty has devastated another world-class field. And Hemmings is going to do it. Hemmings wins it. She's the champion. A personal...
Win or lose, Jamaicans will cheer the loudest at the Olympics so that the world will never forget who we are.
And Usain Bolt is moving away. And Jamaica retained their title. And the world record has been taken apart. Oh, I say.
From July 26 to August 11, tune in only to Nationwide 90 FM for the coverage of the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, because we're here to ensure that you never forget. Nationwide's coverage is powered by our bronze sponsors: National Road Operating and Construction Company Limited, Digicel, Grace Foods, Spirits of Jamaica, Imperial Optical Jamaica, and Rainforest Caribbean.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Jamaica's Travis Michael today set a new meet record to win the men's discus at a World Athletics Continental Bronze event in Marseille, France today. Michael threw 65 meters 61 to win ahead of Philipp Milanov of Germany, who logged 63 meters 90. Meanwhile, the joint second fastest man in history, Johan Blake, was today disqualified after crossing the line third in the final of the men's 100 meters at the Raiffeisen Open Track and Field meeting in Vienna, Austria. Blake won his heat in 10.16 seconds, but was outpaced in the final and crossed the line third in 10.26 seconds. He was, however, disqualified later. Nago Head of St. Catherine won the InSports Dave and Biscuit Primary Schools Athletics National Championships by 30.5 points at the National Stadium today. Nago Head, who are the central champions, amassed 193 points, well clear of License of St. Thomas, 162.5 points. Greater Portmore finished the third with 94 points. Spanish Town Primary fourth, 97, while St. John's Primary completed the top five. They scored 72.5 points. And the president of the J3As, Garth Gale, gives the championship his full support.
This is one of the fundamental foundation programs, because here is one of the real true grassroots competition, and InSport has gotten it right because they have it in 3 zones across the island and culminate with a grand final. And so the J3s, we are very proud. We give full support to the organization of this event, and we will continue to give full support as long as the Institute of Sports continue to have it, and we wish them to continue to have it.
That's President of the J3As, Garth Gale. The West Indies and South Africa will meet in the first game of their 3-match T20 International Series at Sabina Park tomorrow, starting at 2. The series comes 10 days before the start of the ICC World Cup, so the teams will see it as a welcome preparation ahead of the global showpiece. Jamaican opener Brandon King, who will lead the West Indies in the absence of regular skipper Rovman Powell, says the series will give the team an indication of their true readiness for the World Cup.
The camp was just purely a training camp, so there's nothing that can replicate much
situation. So it's good that we have this series leading into the World Cup. So we look into all the plans that we've made over the last week or so. We're looking to implement them in this series. It's good that we have that level of competition, very good field to play against. But if you look at the last 3 series that we played, as a group, where they were also against top teams, India, England, those kind of teams, and we did well against them. So we know where we're at. We just want to try and carry a good momentum into the World Cup.
And King says he feels no pressure taking on the mantle of captaincy.
I don't really feel that much pressure, to be honest. I'm just excited to have this opportunity. It's very special for me, being able to do that home as well. We don't get a lot of cricket here in Jamaica, so I'm just very happy that I get this opportunity to have 3 games and also to captain and lead the team. It's a great honor, and I'm looking just to do it to the best of my ability.
Brandon King. The other 2 games, the other 2 games will be played on Saturday and Sunday, also starting at 2 in the afternoon. And the West Indies will play 1 warm-up game before the World Cup. That will be against Australia at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad on May 30. Their opening game at the World Cup will be against Papua New Guinea on June 2 at Providence in Guyana. The upgrading of the lights at the Darren Sammy Stadium in St. Lucia is nearing completion ahead of the ICC Men's T20 World Cup. The replacing of the tower lights with energy-efficient LED lighting is part of an $80 million renovation of the facility that is set to host 6 World Cup games, June 15 to 24.
This operation started 30 days ago, and it takes about 30 days to install lights. We are at the fag end of the completion of works. In about, say, 6 days, we should have lights on. But each stanchion takes half a day to go. So we're looking at 2.5 days to go, and we'll have lights up. But earlier you had metal halide lights, which were 1,500 watt each, and now we are replacing them with LED lights. Each light is 1,650 watt, and will give you double the light that is falling onto the ground. And you have an amazing experience here in St. Lucia watching cricket.
That's the project manager who calls himself Raj, and he says the best team is working on the project.
We have the chief engineer from St. Lucia. His name is Mr. Michael Henry. We have structural engineer here. We also have termination engineer here who are doing the termination work. And we have lots of local engineers we have trained to do the work for servicing later on. And we have about 25 local people employed who are helping us in the installation of lights. There are 2 backup generators which are existing in the stadium. So these lights are connected to the backup generators.
7 of the 8 ICC T20 World Cup warm-up matches set for Trinidad and Tobago will be played behind closed doors. The Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board was informed by the ICC not to sell tickets to the warm-up games except the match between Australia and West Indies on May 3 at the Queen's Park Oval. Veteran cricket commentator Joseph Reds Pereira explains.
That game should attract a sizable crowd. Initially, they're only opening the Caribbean stand, which can host about 3,000 people, and may open other stands like they do Pray, depending on the interest. The cost about $30 US, 200 TT. It will not be carried on television throughout the Caribbean. It will be streamed, and feel that it should be a great opportunity for the public to judge the strength of the 2 teams, and that the coaching staff of both sides should learn a lot from the clash between Australia and the West Indies at the Queen's Park.
That's Joseph Reds Pereira. Former Everton striker Ademola Lookman scored a stunning hat-trick today to steer Italian side Atalanta to a 3-0 victory over German champions Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa Cup final at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Lookman scored in the 12th, 26th and 75th minutes to give Atalanta their first European trophy in 61 years, and in so doing they inflicted on Leverkusen their first defeat of the season, spanning 51 games.
Clever ball there, Zappa Costa. They're queuing up in the middle here. And Longman! Atalanta lead! So well taken and beautifully created. Oh, he might hit it here. He did! That is outstanding! And on such a big stage too. To produce that, surely the best moment of his career. And it's Ademola Lookman on a hat-trick! Spectacular!
What a goal!
Just
what a goal!
Remarkable! What an individual performance from Ademola Lookman. He'll remember this day, this moment for the rest of his life, and so will they.
Ademola Lookman. That was a top night in his career. This boy has scored some really special goals, especially when he was playing at Everton and Charlton in the English League. Now, Leverkusen will now look to end the season on a high when they face Kaiserslautern in the German Cup final at the Berlin Olympic Stadion on Saturday. Hubert Busby was officially presented to the media as head coach of the Jamaica national senior women's football team at a press conference at the JFF offices today. Busby's first assignment will be 2 international friendlies against Brazil on June 1 and 4, and he says it's an honor to be leading the Reggae Girls at such an exciting time in the women's program.
I believe the time is right, and I feel that it's a great opportunity and a great time for Jamaica football, but also for the women's program as we look to go to 3 consecutive World Cups. We are embarking on a new cycle, and we're off to Brazil on Sunday, where we'll look to kind of reconvene with some of the players and continue our evaluation of players as we head into what will be a very busy fall schedule, and then that will turn into another hectic 2025, and then from there on in, that will be the sort of platform and the springboard for us to head into World Cup qualifiers.
Bugsby said the players are eager to again create more football history.
So obviously excited, grateful for the staff and the opportunity, and really, again, as it was mentioned, to be working with an incredible pool of players that are at the senior level, but also the ones that are matriculating through the system as well. So the future looks bright, and we need to continue to mold and to guide and to support our national teams, male and female, as we look to embark on, what will hopefully be 2 historic years in 2026 and 2027.
That's Hubert Busby, the national senior women's football team coach. And it's now time for the Nationwide Olympic Fact, sponsored by Rainforest Caribbean.
This is Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
Did you know that Herb McKinley is the first Jamaican to win a medal in the men's 100 meters at the Olympics? Yes, that's a fact. Herb McKinley won silver at the 1952 Games in Helsinki in the men's 100 meters.
That was Nationwide's Olympic Facts, brought to you by Rainforest Caribbean. Make delicious moments.
That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:21.
Nationwide 90 FM is at it again. Team Revolution will clear every hurdle and sprint to the finish line as we cover the games of the 33rd Olympiad from Paris, the city of love.
Fraser Price gets the start, and look at this, Ahuri going well, and here they're coming to close it down. Jetta's coming through, but Fraser Price on the near side, the Olympic champion defends! She defends the title! Wonderful run by Shelly Ann.
Nationwide's coverage is powered by our diamond sponsor, Pizza Hut. Now, that's delivering from all locations, island-wide.
Takes place at the Racers Grand Prix Saturday, June 1 at the National Stadium. World champion Noah Lyles, British record holder Zarnan Hughes, Africa's fastest man Ferdinand Amanyala, and Jamaica's favorite Oblique Seville battling the 100 meters. World champion Antonio Watson takes on champion Allison. Olympic champion Hansel Parchment graces the track in his pet event. St. Lucian hotshot Julian Alfred goes up against the young Jamaican Joel Alana Reid. Devin Charlton takes on Akira Nugent. Tickets available at racersgrandprix.com, mysticOnlinetix.com, and the Jamaica Pegasus starting May 24. Finish line $5,000, regular grandstand $3,000, bleachers $500. Don't miss a great night experiencing Jamaica's track and field, passion and entertainment.
My Mega
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite, and pay some bills.
Fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robeanne Williams. It's the eve of a holiday, so you know we're not there tomorrow. A special good evening to our friends on YouTube. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. It's an ongoing conversation, the matter of constitutional reform. Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs Marlene Malahoo Fort says she hopes both the Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, and Opposition Leader Mark Golding can settle their differences for the sake of the process. Minister Malahoo Fort was speaking Wednesday morning during a media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister in St. Andrew. Now, the constitutional reform process, it has been stalled. From last week, after Opposition Leader Mark Golding, he declared that he would not support the agenda. Mr. Golding stated that Jamaica's move from the British monarchy must be paired with the country, also leaving the London-based Privy Council and adopting the Caribbean Court of Justice (CCJ) as our final appellate court. Now, Prime Minister Andrew Holness expressed his displeasure at Mr. Golding's stance. Minister Marlene Malahoo Fort says the last meeting between the Prime Minister and the opposition leader on the matter of constitutional reform was in April. Minister Malahoo Fort says her desire is for both leaders to put their differences aside in order for the constitutional reform process to continue.
I am keeping faith that the quarrels will die down, that the wounds will heal, and that our leaders will find the maturity that is required. I believe that we must lead and look beyond elections and continue to hold the interest of the nation before us. I believe that we cannot fail as others behind us have failed, and it is our hope that those who come after us will find us faithful.
Marlene Malahoo Fort, their Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, she was speaking during this morning's media briefing at the office of the Prime Minister. In Public Opinion today, we're asking, should the Prime Minister and the opposition leader have a face-to-face discussion about the constitutional reform impasse? Let's get the comments on our social media platforms, starting on X. Jay Brown says, no meeting. Let this thing wait until after the JLP has won the next... Okay. Until after the JLP has won the next election and Mark Golding is removed. Only then will we make progress. That's coming from Jay Brown. Parallel Society says, no. Just need to know all other person holding political offices while having dual citizenship from both sides. CJ says absolutely not. Mark Golding has a track record of saying one thing in the meeting and then something else to the public. Michelle says no, leave it alone. They must not get involved. They have their representatives on the committee already. Enough said is saying, yes, a sit down between the two is urgently needed. When two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. We the people are the grass. Wow, what a way to put it. Sandra James says maybe, but we need to be a recording of this meeting because knowing too many flip-flops. Okay. Teriana says nope, only if it will be recorded. Afghanistan Rasta says nobody can trust. Oh boy, all right. Annie Strong says they should have a televised meeting. Okay. Portia Prince believes that it is imperative for both leaders to have a meeting, and she's saying, I will also add that the citizens should be involved. Tevin Johnson says no to the meeting of the leaders about the process of the constitutional reform. Alexander Pike says absolutely, they should meet. Elon Musk says no. Wow. A lot of comments coming in on this one. I'll switch over to our Facebook platform where Hallen J. Rollins is saying it's too late. Jamaica's opposition leader Mark Golding confirmed he's a British citizen. He's asking some questions. Did Golding initially lie by omission? Okay. Othniel Blair says, some of you behaving as if the opposition leader have equal power as the PM, and when nothing go wrong in the country's opposition leader is called to give answers. Wanna call Prime Minister Andrew Holness, but that's not what we're saying, Othniel. We're asking, should the Prime Minister and the opposition leader have a face-to-face discussion about the constitutional reform process that has been stalled? Everline Beckford says, not with the current situation, as the Prime Minister is behaving like he owns Jamaica and anything he says goes. He is behaving like there's no place in Jamaica for the opposition. Okay. John Constantine Henry says, yes, they should. The same should be a live broadcast discussion, so no he said accusations can arise. Philip Jackson says the issue is not about a face-to-face talk. The PNP, it is about power at any cost. It's not about doing the right thing. Next thing, why should the opposition behave like they are at the helm of government? And the government is the opposition. Why are they sticking up the government? And with the support of a lot of sympathizers who can't just tell them that they have no right to be wrong? Sansia Campbell says, yes, but it probably won't happen. Too many egos. Sean Major Campbell says, there is indeed a place for conversation in a civilized society. Two men with names from the gospel of Jesus Christ should be able to meet in the name of peace, justice, and nationhood. Sean Major Campbell, now that you point it out, two men with the name of the gospel of Jesus Christ. They should be able to meet in the name of peace, justice, and nationhood. All right, Sean Major Campbell, I like that one. Robert Ranger says, guess what? Let's just forget about this rep thing. In my humble opinion, we didn't even did ready for the 1962 change of flag, and that's my opinion. Oh, so you're saying forget about becoming a republic, Robert Ranger? That's what you're saying? Mark Julius says no, government is government, opposition is opposition. On our Instagram platform, real quick, Summers says no. There's a constitutional reform committee. Any person or group that wishes to see the constitution amended should make a submission to the CRC. Tamla says, boy, that tough. Okay. Nazi says, please ask PM which party was in power when the constitution was written previously. Okay. Jamaica Snapshot says no. Let Mark Golding meet with the CRC. Jet Slate says, no, they don't need to. No to all, not at all. Mr. Boys is saying that. I honestly, looking at this public opinion, I thought, and these are my opinions, I must say, I thought that we would get more yes than no. Like, to how important the process is, and I know that we've been down the road of consultation and everything, but I thought that there would be more yeses than nos. So to the question, should the Prime Minister and opposition leader have a face-to-face discussion about the constitutional reform that has now been stalled? Let me go on over to our YouTube platform. Beverly Buchanan says government must lead. Precious Soul is saying no. Gloria Johnson, the PM cannot sit with the opposition who behaves like a bully. Okay, wow. Wow. Derek Cunningham says JLP don't follow law. Wow. Robert McKenzie says Bible can't save you, sir. Marlene P says no meeting with Mark. Him flip too much. Whoa. M Jam, I see what you're doing here. M Jam says Judas betrayed Jesus. Wow. We're getting really biblical about it. Let me see if I can have some more comments. Poor People Voice TV says because the government is not behaving like a government. All right, let me see if I can get in. Shelley Clark says no because Mark can't be trusted. Wow. J Max says no until, let me see if I can get in some more. Thank you, Robert McKenzie. I see your message right there. Shelley Clark says no. I honestly expected some more yeses. I'm not telling a lie. I did expect more yeses. I did expect some more yeses. Fully Disclosed says no, the committee is already dealing with it. Carlene Smith says they should have the meeting. It is in the interest of the people, how they can be godfathers and godmothers for each other's children. If they cannot meet, do away with them. No, man. Godfrey Smith says no. When you realize who the PM have to deal with, it makes no sense. Reasoning. I have no... Listen, Jacqueline Thomas is saying meet where and how and when. Okay, Jacqueline. I honestly believe that we're going to get more yes. Yes to a face-to-face meeting with the opposition leader and the Prime Minister. I thought we would get some more yeses. Yeah. Albert Lewis says yes, they should sit and discuss the issue. Donovan says no meeting at all. Wow. All right, it's a continuous conversation, you know. I know you'll get tired of me saying that, but it's a continuous conversation and we look forward to see the outcome. That's all the time we have for Public Opinion. Thank you so much for your participation. Do stay tuned for the business report up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Hello, good evening and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. The Bank of Jamaica BOJ says it's already seen a positive change in the commercial banking sector in response to its new guaranteed service standards for automated banking machines, ABMs. The BOJ gave an update on the initiative during its quarterly monetary policy media briefing on Tuesday. BOJ Governor Richard Biles also sought to assure Jamaicans that the central bank would institute monetary penalties to better hold deposit-taking institutions to account. Further afield, falling gas and electricity prices have driven UK inflation to its lowest level in almost 3 years. Prices rose at 2.3% in the year to April, down from 3.2% the month before. While inflation, which measures the rate of price increases over time, has fallen further, it remains higher than the Bank of England's target of 2% and was slightly higher than experts expected. But the bank has hinted that interest rates which have been raised in recent years to slow price rises could be cut this summer. Rates are currently at 5.25%, the highest level in 16 years. And finally, the currency markets. At the close of trading today, it cost 156 Jamaican dollars and 89 cents to buy $1, 199 Jamaican dollars and 63 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 115 Jamaican dollars and 42 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Happy laboring tomorrow. Good evening.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
Invest in Jamaica and make your money grow. Invest in Mayberry Jamaican Equities Bond, a safe and purposeful way to invest. How? We carefully invest your funds in top local companies, empowering you to profit from multiple businesses, not just one. With a minimum investment of just $20,000 and an interest rate of up to 10.5% per annum, it's more than just growth. It's profit with purpose. Discover more at www.profitwithpurposeja.com or contact your investment advisor for full details. Profit with purpose. Invest with Mayberry.
Nationwide 90 FM is at it again. Team Revolution will clear every hurdle and sprint to the finish line as we cover the games of the 33rd Olympiad from Paris, the city of love.
Fraser Price gets the start, and look at this, Lahore going well, and here they're coming to close it down. Jetta's coming through, but Fraser Price on the near side, the Olympic champion defends! She defends the title! Wonderful run by Shelly-Ann.
Nationwide's coverage is powered by our diamond sponsor, Pizza Hut. Now, that's delivering from all locations, island-wide.
My
to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills. Fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
Jamaica's third gold medal at the Olympic Games came in the men's 4x400 meters relay final at the 1952 Olympics in Helsinki. The quartet of Arthur Wint, Leslie Lang, Herb McKinley and George Roden won the final and in the process broke the 20-year-old world record with a time of 3 minutes 03.9 seconds. McKinley's third leg of 44.6 seconds, credited with pulling Jamaica into contention from 10 meters back, is considered one of the greatest relay legs in history. On the last leg, George Roden, the 400 meters champion, and USA's Mal Whitfield, the 800 meters champion, ran virtually shoulder to shoulder, but Roden was able to keep the lead and beat Whitfield by a yard. This gave McKinley his first and only Olympic gold medal.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
The Oasis is brought to you by Solar Tech Jamaica. We use the gift of the sun to power our world.
I'm Dennis Brooks. I'm Alan Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Chewy flavor with delight. It really, really nice. May I say it twice?
The time by Jamaica Mountain Peak Golden Turmeric Latte is
18 minutes to 7.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
Well, in the nation's business this evening, it's all about business. Barita Investments Limited has a new CEO. In a statement recently, the company announced that Ramon Small Ferguson will take over as its new boss. He is replacing Dane Brodber, who has been acting in the position since May 7, 2022.
Mr. Brodber is now the acting CEO of Barita's sister company, Cornerstone Trust and Merchant Bank Limited. He'll also assume leadership responsibility for the financial holding company to be established in the Cornerstone Group of companies. Mr. Small Ferguson, who is also the managing director of Barita Unit Trust Management Company Limited, joined Barita as vice president of asset management research in April 2019.
Before joining Barita, Ramon was the chief investment strategist and head of research at the investment banking arm of the Jamaica National Group. Mr. Brodber, prior to his post at Barita, was a chief risk officer of the Cornerstone Group. There, he had oversight responsibility for the risk function of Cornerstone and its subsidiaries, inclusive of the Barita Group.
He joined the Cornerstone Group in November 2019, and before that, Mr. Brodber served as Regional Director of Market Risk Management with Scotiabank, where he worked for over 12 years. Both men join us now.
Good evening, Mr. Brodber, Mr.
Cliff.
Small Ferguson. Good evening.
Good evening, Cliff.
Good evening, good evening.
Mr. Brodber, how are you?
We're good, we're good. Is this Ramon or is this Dane, Mr. Brodber?
This is Dane Brodber.
Brodber.
And this is Ramon, Cliff. How are you doing?
I'm good. Let me begin with you, Ramon Small Ferguson. You're now the new CEO of Barita, not Barita. Yes, manager you were. Hold on, let me get a lot of titles to contend with here, right?
No worries. But
Ramon,
Barita, yes.
Right, you're now the new CEO of Barita. Good?
Yes, sir.
Good. What's your mandate now?
Well, my mandate is a mix of more of the same, complemented by necessary innovation. I mean, as you know, Cliff, Barita has gone through a phase of substantial growth since its acquisition by Cornerstone in 2018. That has been in the context of very dynamic market conditions. I mean, we had a pandemic, something that we had not seen for maybe 100 years as a globe. And we have also experienced a significant rise in interest rates after a period of declining interest rates to unprecedented lows. Notwithstanding, our company did very well. We showed a lot of resilience and we created a lot of value during that period. So I will say that I have a running start. I did somewhat of a relay, and Dane has handed me the baton with pretty good momentum. So my job is to really continue to run very hard. I think we have a tremendous opportunity in the context of where the country is. Jamaica has seen a significant improvement in its fiscal and economic circumstances in the last decade. And from our perspective, we think the investment banking sector, and by extension Barita, is well positioned to help the country in what I think is a future phase of growth. There will be a building phase for us, having gotten down our debt so significantly. So that's what has gotten me very excited about this opportunity as CEO. I think that there is a good bit of growth in our future, both as a country and as a company.
Mr. Small Ferguson, I had a look at Barita's biannual report, and I see where one of the key things you're targeting is moving away from intermediation and trying to diversify Barita's business model. How will that look?
So, a very good question. So, what we have been focused on, as you have said, is revenue diversification, and the underlying objective of that is increased resilience, right? So when we talk about diversifying away from intermediation, specifically on-balance sheet intermediation, what we're speaking about is expanding a few key areas of the business. One is our asset management business, where we manage money on behalf of our customers, right? And through that business, we can connect our customers directly with investment opportunities, either in a pooled way or placing them in instruments directly, right? We think that is an important area of growth for us, an important potential area of value creation for our customers. Again, we're also focused on growing our investment banking business, where we raise capital on behalf of companies and on behalf of projects and so on. And again, we think that, given where Jamaica is, given where several countries in the region are, we think that there continues to be a tremendous opportunity for us to expand our presence in the capital markets. That's another targeted area of growth for us. Finally, we are looking at expanding our investments in the real sector, expanding our direct investments in projects and companies that are poised for growth. We see that again as another potential significant earning area for our business. So when we talk about diversification, those are some of the targeted areas that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. And Dane Bradbury, you're now the CEO for Cornerstone Trust and Merchant Bank. You handed a baton to Ramon of a company running, as he says. Now, what's the mandate for Cornerstone under your leadership?
Thanks, Chris. So specifically for the merchant bank, I think the main mandate, as I would see, is that over the years since Cornerstone would have acquired what is now Cornerstone Trust and Merchant Bank back in 2016, it's been making several very key investments. So the first thing it would have done is injected capital into the business to make it now the best capitalized deposit-taking institution by capital adequacy, and would have invested significantly in technology to improve the capabilities of the bank. And very, very importantly, similar to Barita, invested in human resources to really power the future of the bank. So I see as my main mandate for the bank in particular, for the merchant bank in a nutshell, to really bring these investments to fruition, with a view to eventually, announcing this bank to the public. We've been pretty quiet and pretty smart, strategically so, for the last several years, while we execute on the various investments that have been made in the bank. So really and truly, it's really bringing all of those investments to fruition. Now, more broadly, that bank will now form part of the financial group, and so my mandate really is one, ensuring the appropriate reorganization of the group, both from a corporate structure perspective and also internally, really taking the opportunity to ensure that from a group perspective, with Barita that is out there, with the bank that is soon to come, to really optimize that group, right? And it's really to achieve two main ideas. One is customer centricity. We want to ensure that we're optimized as best as possible. We've looked at our reorganization from the perspective of the customer to ensure that they have access to the full capabilities of the group in as seamless a way as possible. And secondly, using the best practices between the various both institutions to really drive the efficiency of the group and allow us to deliver those services in as most and in as efficient a way as possible. So, that really is it in a nutshell for me, Cliff.
Yes.
Really optimizing the group and really, bringing all the background work that's been done for the bank to fruition.
So the bank that is coming, tell me more about that. Is this going to be what, a commercial bank? What?
So currently it's a boutique merchant bank. Initially it would have been previously Miles Fletcher MF&G Merchant Bank, pretty much to serve the customer base of the law firm Miles Fletcher and Gordon. And since then, we'd have expanded the customer base somewhat, but it's just a fairly small customer base. So what I can say at this point, Chris, is that we're looking to have this bank, really advance, financial inclusion. Like our sister company, Barita aims to democratize wealth, make wealth more accessible to the average Jamaican. Similarly, we want to democratize financial services as a group overall, with the bank leading the democratization of access to banking services. What we find is that there's a significant portion of the population that still it's not a part of that, not a part of the financial system, and we want to help change that. So we're putting ourselves in a position to do just that.
And this creation of the new bank, I assume this is part of the restructuring into the financial holding company of which you are the CEO designate.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Sharon?
This is part of the creation of the financial holding company of which you are a CEO designate, I assume.
Yes. So what will happen under the financial holding company, under the reorganization, the financial holding company will now be the parent company for both Barita Investments and Cornerstone Trust and Merchant Bank.
And this is a signal that there are far greater things coming for Barita and Cornerstone.
Oh yes. So I mean, when we think about the reorganization and really having, for our customers, the group looking like one institution, we really see a lot of things on the horizon. I'm somewhat tight-lipped about what is coming from it.
I can understand that.
As you can understand, but needless to say, I mean, you can imagine we've been at this for a while. I mean, we've been invested in this institution for a number of years, so definitely looking forward to the eventual launch.
And Ramon Small Ferguson, you spoke to the the economic conditions the country are facing, and we know that the policy rate of the Bank of Jamaica at 7% right now is a bit of a sticking point with a lot of people, and certainly it is that policy rate, as I see in your biannual, that Barita is also tracking. So what are your thoughts about where that is going? I mean, the governor of the Bank of Jamaica said they're currently waiting and seeing before they make any moves. Do you expect that policy rate to come down somewhat before the end of 2024?
So, I mean, what I'd say is this, right? I'll parse my answer into two. What we would have seen with respect to both the policy rate here and internationally is a very sharp increase over a short space of time, right? And that those two factors in and of themselves have been headwinds for the earnings, or at least elements of the earnings of financial institutions. What we have seen over the course of the last couple of quarters, however, is some stability in that rate. Right? That has given us a bit of breathing room, I'd say, a little bit less uncertainty. And it is that platform that I think certain financial institutions, to include ourselves, that's the platform we're operating from. There is a bit more optimism and we're a bit more constructive, really, the prospects for future earnings that were previously hit by the pace and the degree to which rates would have gone up. That being said, there still exists a good bit of uncertainty in the operating environment, both globally and locally. We have geopolitical risks that are emerging, right? I mean, as soon as we have kind of cleared up a bit of the supply chain challenges that came post-COVID, we're now seeing the geopolitical risks rearing their head in various areas of the globe. So understandably, the central bank is being cautious, giving clear guidance around the timing of any form of rate movement down. It's our expectation that even if rates remain fairly stable, there is still going to be some positive uplift in certain traditional sources of revenues for financial institutions just based on stability. Right? But we do believe that there is a greater and greater chance that we will actually see some adjustment down, provided that current market conditions continue. Right? And what are those current market conditions? We've actually seen inflation come down in recent months within the Bank of Jamaica's target range of 4 to 6%. Right? That's number one. And number two, we haven't experienced any serious external shocks, right? Things like natural disasters. I mean, we would have seen the effects of the supply chain challenges before. Jamaica is still a small economy.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we continue along that stable path, I think if things in the United States become more certain from a policy perspective, we may see a central bank who becomes more comfortable with the prospect of lower rates. And we think that there is an increasing probability of that, as you said, within the timeline that you described. You mentioned before the end of the calendar year, the probabilities are increasing as time goes by.
Just before we let you go, Ramon, give me some of the key performance indicators so far. I see where your total shareholders' equity at 35.6 billion, net profit 1.9 billion, operating revenue 5 billion. Yeah, where are you now in terms of total assets?
So, as at March 2024, at that point in time, our total assets were 134 billion. It was a record position. We'd have bought the business about 18 billion in on-book assets. So over the last 5 years, we've done a pretty good job, I'd say, in expanding the size of the business. What we had as well, Cliff, which may not be as apparent from the 6-month numbers, was a very strong 3-month quarter from January to March, right? We had record revenues of $3.65 billion and record pre-tax profits of $2.05 billion relative to the previous record quarter, which was ironically the corresponding period last year. So what we have is really some cautious optimism emerging in the business, Chris, in terms of the trend. Right? So we had a challenging first quarter, and we now have a second quarter that has put some wind in our back as we look out to the rest of the financial year. So a number of headwinds, still a lot of uncertainty, but the team is pretty pleased with the performance that we would have seen in Q2, and we're motivated to press ahead. There's a lot to look forward to. Dean spoke about the melding of the two companies within the financial group. That integration is also something to look forward to. And at the center of it all, Cliff, is the customer. Right? We are positioning ourselves to better serve the customer. We know that financial services has a little bit of a ways to go in Jamaica, but we are excited to go along that journey with the customer.
And you have an optimal asset efficiency ratio well below the 50% mark. That is quite commendable. How was that achieved considering the difficulties over the last few years for the Jamaican economy?
Thank you. Well, I mean, my board will probably tell you that they want to get closer to 40%, right?
Yes.
But cost management has been a central part of our strategy as well. So I spoke about revenue diversification as one pillar, and a still focus on efficiency is another pillar. Right? So what we've been doing is really looking at how to do more with the same or more with less. Right? We have been very judicious around the different areas of cost to ensure that this spending in particular.
Sorry about that. Continue, Ramon. Seemed like we had a problem with Dane. Dane, are you there? All right.
I'm here.
Oh, lost Ramon. Sorry. Dane, can you complete the thoughts? we lost Ramon right in the middle of that. All right, I think we better leave it there because we're already running over time. But thank you very much, Dane Bradber, Acting CEO, Cornerstone Trust and Merchant Bank, and CEO Designate for the Financial Holding Company for Cornerstone, Dane Bradber. And before him, the new CEO of Barita Investments Limited and Managing Director of Barita Unit Trust Management Company, Ramon Small Ferguson. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks. Thank you,
Good. After the break,
we have Sagicor Investments, Think Like a Stockbroker.
The mission of the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs includes revising Jamaica's legal and constitutional infrastructure and accelerating the pace of reform. The time by the MLCA is
7:02.
More savings, more choices. Get active with Active Home Center. The one-stop shop for everything for your home. We have more savings, more choices, unbelievable prices. Wide selection with the latest style. The kitchen, bathroom, right down to the tile. Buy the hottest items on spot, don't miss out. Best options under one roof, no doubt. More savings, more choices.
Visit us in store or online at www.activehomecenter.com.
We have more savings, more choices.
Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
When you good, you just good. Hey, had the national flavor. You go want to buy this bag. So good, it's just so good. Welcome deluxe, the cream cracker that rises to the top.
So crisp, so light, so buttery.
National Baking Company, just so good.
Some see the glass half empty, others see the glass half full. You check if there's water in the tap, because smart investors think ahead. This is Sagicor Investments. Think like a stockbroker, giving you a clearer perspective on the investment markets.
Welcome back, listeners, viewers, for another exciting episode of Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker, where we give you the information and insights you need to navigate the market. Joining me again is Assistant Vice President for Research and Strategy at Sagicor Investments, Jodian Ayres. How are you, Jodian?
Hey, Siobhan, I'm actually doing well. How are you?
I'm doing quite wonderful. Before we get into this week's topic, we have to go back another week and just give a recap on what dividends, how you incorporate those into your portfolio, and what you do when you want those dividends as a strategy.
Dividend is really when a company makes a profit or a surplus, and they decide as a company that they're going to pay out a portion of that to shareholders. So it's really cash that comes back to shareholders over a period of time. So it could be quarterly, it could be annual, it could be semi-annual. We talked about a few strategies. So we have persons who are looking to harvest dividends, or those who are looking to capture dividend, which would be two other strategies that we can look at. But if it is that you don't have the time to necessarily go into the market and be wondering, which companies to get, you could consider looking via an exchange traded fund, which would then be focused. So you'd pay a fund manager a portion of your earnings, which would really then be focused on finding these companies that are geared towards dividend income or providing higher dividend income, and you can benefit that way from dividends.
A question that cropped up from last week is, should a person just coming into stock investment, should they be chasing dividends as the end goal, or should they be looking more for the long-term value of the portfolio?
Well, equities on a whole is really a long-term play. So you really go into equities not necessarily for short-term gains, but more so on a long-term play. Because when you look at equities, the selling point is that over a 10-year period, a 15-year period of time, equities is one of that asset class that tends to outperform others. So it's really something that you go buying into a company. So think about if it is that you are starting a company, you're not necessarily expecting to see right away instant
profit,
right?
Yes.
So similarly, when it is that you're buying into a company, you want to buy into something that you think is substantial, something that has growth potential. So you're really buying into a share for a long period of time. It also depends on the age that you are. So for persons who are a little bit younger, they can consider doing more growth stocks that would see that sort of boom that may not be paying dividend. But if it is that you are probably older and you need additional supplements, in your retirement ages, then you find those persons would prefer to look for dividend income stock, because they tend to be more stable companies that have been doing well in their specific industry. They're either market leaders, and so they're able to then have increase in their dividend over time. So it also depends on your strategy and your age, where you are. So I wouldn't say that you shouldn't focus on dividend. I think it's just dependent on your risk appetite, as well as where it is that you are in your general life.
To the meat of the matter this week, we want to talk now about weather patterns, adverse weather. We have the Atlantic hurricane season coming upon us, not to forget the dry season that is still upon us at this moment. How do these things factor now into stock brokerage?
There are companies that are operating in the same economy that you are, in the same country that you are living, and so those companies are also feeling the effects of these weather impacts, right? So if you think about it, you can have both positive and negative effects. So on one end, if it is that you are invested in companies that are dependent on agricultural produce for their raw materials, then they could feel a crunch, because as example, the dry period now, it could have an impact on agricultural production, and if that supply contracts, then what happens is that the price will increase. And with an increase in price, it means that that company now has higher prices for their raw materials, and they may not necessarily be able to pass that on right away to the consumers, and so it will have somewhat of a damper in terms of their profits. However, if it is that you're invested in a company that is providing a solution to some of these adverse weather events, then you'll be able to probably see a greater impact for that profitability. So think about companies that may be providing cooling solutions if you're thinking about a dry period. Currently, in our case, we are probably experiencing water restrictions. You have companies that are producing water, and so persons may just be buying more water because the time is drier, whether it is that they just want for hydration or they're just not getting anything in their tap. So those companies could then benefit from an increased demand. So it goes both ways.
It's like going into the summer period, it might be good to find a company in refrigeration or air conditioning, or invest probably in JPS, considering electricity consumption usually goes up in those periods of time.
With each event, there could be opportunities. So you want to, as an investor, think of what could be an opportunity here for me to benefit, or what companies could do well.
As we do every week, we look at some of the jargon that is associated with stock brokerage. In this week, we want to look at income statements and balance sheets. What are those, and how do we look at them in terms of analyzing stock picks?
Okay, so your income statements and your balance sheet are two statements out of what we call financial statements. So they're cash flow, as well as the statements of changes in equity. As well as those would normally, if you're looking at audited financials, come with some additional notes. So it's a whole package of things that we look through and we start through to get a full understanding of a company and its overall financial health. So particularly your income statement provides your company's income and expenditure. So it shows you what's coming in and what's going out, right? So if you think about if it is that a company is making profit, if it is that their revenue is increasing, if it is that their expenses are getting higher, are they making more, are they paying out more for borrowing costs, all of that will be shown on your income statement, because it gives you an idea of, or gives you a full picture of what it is that company over a specific period of time has earned and what it is that it would have passed out. So it's something that we really do look at, because if it is that a company isn't earning revenues, then it won't necessarily have anything to trickle down to that bottom line that we spoke about, which is a profit. And we'll also want to see how is it that profit is moving, and it gives us a full layout of all the things coming down that would have started from revenue that brings us down to profit. So we get to see what is impacting profit. If profit is increasing or decreasing, we get to look at those line items and say, hey, it's increasing because they reduce the debt, and so they're not paying as much in terms of borrowing costs, or it has gone up because for whatever reason there's now an increase in operating expenditure. Could mean that they're paying staff more, there are increases for certain things that they need just for the functioning of the business. Whereas the income statement is over a period of time, your balance sheet is a snapshot at a particular moment in time. So at this particular, which is generally at the end of a quarter or the end of a year, it tells you what the company owns as well as what it owes. And what it owns will be your assets. So it tells you how much they have in terms of plants and equipment, how much it has in terms of inventory, as well as it tells you a listing of either the short-term or the long-term borrowings that they may have, and the portion of it that it is that currently owes to their lenders. So it really gives you a full picture, and then we go a little bit further as analysts in that we look at some of the ratios. So it gives us a full picture of the financial health of the company, and it's very useful in terms of how it is that we assess not just what has happened, but in terms of what it is that we're expecting to happen going forward.
So in that assessment, a lot of laymen will think that profit's good, debt bad, and this is usually how we would do an analysis. But I'm assuming there's a more nuanced look at it in terms of the profit versus loss analysis.
Right. So debt isn't bad. It's not bad. I think what's bad about it is when it becomes burdensome. So it is helping us to bring money that we expect to have in the future into the present. A company may need to expand in order to improve revenues, but they just have to, borrow a little bit of cash to help them get there. So don't think of debt necessarily as bad, but just think of it that it can become burdensome if it is that you take on more than you can manage. But there are definitely, as you pointed out, in terms of profit and loss, you want to dig a little bit deeper, because profit could be decreasing, but it could just mean that it is for a particular period of time because something specific was done, or probably they had a high borrowing cost in this period that may not continue going forward. So there's a little bit more than just, even though at a glance you want to definitely look at the profit, because that's what, as a shareholder, really belongs to me. But you want to do a little bit deeper dive in terms of how is it that it's moving over time. You want to look at probably the margin. So is it then my profit is increasing, but when I look at revenue grew, but revenue grew so much, but then my profit didn't grow as much. And so you want to look at that margin. So if that margin is deteriorating, it could mean that the company has lost some of its efficiency, even though profit is increasing.
Well, this is definitely why you need a stockbroker, because it definitely helps you to understand these nuances. Jody, a few weeks back, we spoke about a few of those economic indicators, such as inflation and net international reserves. Do you have an update for us?
Yes, very much so. And I really actually have good news to share. Inflation reading would have came out last week for both the Jamaica and the US markets, and we're actually seeing positive numbers. So let's start locally. What we're seeing is that the inflation for April, we should look at the 12-month period. So we're looking at April this year relative to April last year. The inflation reading for Jamaica would have actually been 5.3%, which is lower than the 5.6% we saw in March. And this is really good news because the BOJ has a set target in which it is that they want inflation to fall, and that target is 4% to 6%. And at 5.3 and 5.6, we are within that target quite comfortably. And it brings for market participants really some good news, because as we have been talking quite a bit, from very beginning, is that persons are watching that inflation number to see how it is going to impact the policy rate. And the policy rate, we are expecting that if that should start to dip, then it could really lead us into probably a little bit more activity in terms of equities locally. So it's really good news for the market that we're seeing that movement. And I think also when we look at the monthly movement, so when you look at April relative to March, we notice that that would have dipped in terms of general prices would have fallen, and that dip has been coming from the past 4 months. So over the past 4 months, we have been seeing consistent monthly dips in the general average price. So it brings really good news to the market, because we're now going to be looking to the governor to say, we're moving in targets, we are comfortably in that middle band of the targets, what can we expect, what can we see coming in terms of any sort of a policy rate movements. In the US market, they also had positive news, and they're showing easing in terms of inflation, because for April, that 12-month rate would have been 3.4%. And when it is that you look at the month estimate in terms of April relative to March, it was 0.3%, whereas the market was actually expecting 0.4%. And so this marks the first month in a while where we're seeing that the rates are coming out lower than what market is expecting. So typically, what would have been a little bit of a negative news for market participants in the US is that the outturn was actually coming out hotter than what it is that they were expecting, and that market really watches expectations and how it is that actual compares to expectation. For the US, we are also looking at how it is that movement in inflation could have an impact on the Federal Reserve rate. And the Fed chair actually spoke, I think, a day before the information came out for April, and what he was pointing to is the same sentiment is going to be higher for longer, and he remains fairly cautious. I think the only thing that he would confirm for us is that we're not likely to see a rate hike, and so there's still the anticipation that it's going to take a little bit more comfortable movements of inflation rates lowering, because for the US market, their target is 2%. And so at 3.4, they're still a distance away from that 2%, even though we have been seeing easing. So we're still expecting that they're going to continue to hold for a little bit, and probably we'll see some dips coming later in the year if it is that, those inflation numbers continue to cool.
This really stresses the importance of listening to the information as it comes out and watching those indicators. Well, as is customary, every week we do a stock pick. So what is in store for us this week locally?
Okay, so I'd like to touch on Tropical Battery Company Limited. It is a company that a lot of us are familiar with in terms of our persons who are motorists. They probably would have bought a car battery from them, or you'd have known of them from, just driving around as a motorist. And one of the things we realized with Tropical is that they actually saw a great bump up in terms of revenue and gross profit. And this was really due to the fact that they did two recent acquisitions, one of which was I think Rose Battery Limited, which is actually a company in the US in Silicon Valley, California. And that would have provided a boost for them in terms of that revenue, because they're now amalgamated. They're a new company that has been added to their books. However, when it is that we look just a little bit below income and gross profits in terms of the income sheet that we learned about, we're seeing that there's a bit of a stress in terms of the finance cost, because they would have taken out debt in order to purchase this, to make this acquisition, which is a situation where debt is good, because without debt we would be able to do the acquisition to boost revenue, but there's a cost to debt. And so what it is that you're realizing now is that their profits actually dipped. So their profit before tax fell from, I think, 50 million to somewhere in the 20s $million. So that would have then put some amount of strain. So even though we're seeing good revenue, it's adding a bit of a strain in terms of what it is that they have to pay out in order for those acquisition costs. And when you look at their balance sheet, they're now saying that, hey, we're very leveraged, meaning that we have way more debt than we'd like. And company has indicated that they're open to now deleveraging their balance sheets. So they want to reduce debt. And so they're looking to come into the market to raise capital by a form of equity. So we'd see their debt reducing, and then their balance sheet ratios would look a little bit better with this sort of an activity. But as is usual, the Sagicor Investments Research team does prepare equity reviews. We do have these that we're sharing with our wealth advisors, and I remind you, as is usual, to reach out to your Sagicor Investments wealth advisor for more details.
Well, listeners, you heard it here. Thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of Think Like a Stockbroker. Please join us again next week, same time.
That was Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. Smart investors think ahead. Join us on Nationwide 90 FM, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for Sagicor Investments Think Like a Stockbroker. When you build wealth with Sagicor Investments, you never have to settle for less than your dreams. Call 888-SAGICOR to speak with a wealth advisor, so Sagicor Investments can help you create, grow, and preserve your wealth.
Fast, friendly service? Check. Delicious chicken? Check. Get Quick Chick. Available at Grants Pen and Halfway Tree. Great taste without the wait. The time by Quick Chick is
20 minutes past 7.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional, Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. School violence. What does leadership have to do with it? Jamaica is experiencing a torrent of school violence, which threatens to dash the ship of state against the rocks of indecision. It's not a new or recent phenomenon. Almost a decade ago, a study revealed that 8 in 10 Jamaican students had witnessed violence in their schools, and 3 in 10 had themselves used violence. We're not alone in being overwhelmed by school violence. Our neighbor to the north, America, despite the huge resources available for fighting the scourge, is on its knees, whether in an act of surrender or praying for divine intervention. During a single school year, approximately half of public, middle, and high schools reported at least one incident of physical attacks, fights, theft, larceny, or vandalism. Given the size of America's school system, that amounts to about 1.4 million incidents, which translates to a rate of 29 incidents per 1,000 students. A few days ago, the Interministerial School Support Retreat on Multi-Agency Response to Violence in Schools was held at the Iberostar Hotel in St. James. Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, who was in attendance, took time out to address the press. What he had to say may not have been politically correct, but is nevertheless food for thought. I quote in part from a report in the May 18, 2024 Observer newspaper. As we go forward, especially in the very difficult schools, we have to look carefully at the leadership, which is crucial to overcoming the challenge. End of quote. In America, there are an estimated 200 different institutional interventions in response to rampant school violence. These include policies designed to create a safe school climate, instruction-based programs designed to address the precursors of violence, including bullying, profiling of potentially violent students, counseling at-risk students, conflict mediation and resolution, physical surveillance, and security officers to deter students from carrying weapons. The more effective interventions are joined-up efforts involving the entire student body, staff, parents, and even the community. Leadership plays a key role in determining the culture or ethos within schools, regardless of the crime and violence that may be happening on the outside. I close by directly addressing those in leadership mentioned by Dr. Chang in his statement to the press. Chairmen, principals, guidance counselors, school resource officers, take back control of your schools. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dark,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings, each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
Experience Jamaica's Olympic triumphs in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
After the 1952 Olympics, Jamaica endured a gold drought for 5 Olympic cycles. That's until Donald Quarry ended the streak at the 1976 Montreal Games, winning the men's 200 meters. Quarry made the Jamaican 100 meters team for the 1968 Summer Olympics as a 17-year-old, but he got injured in training and could not compete. In 1976, after winning the AAA's 100 and 200 meters titles, Quarry could finally compete at the Olympics without injuries. He first made the 100 meters final, which he led until overtaken by Trinidadian Hasely Crawford. In the 200 meters, Quarry led the pack, coming out of the turn and held off all challenges to take the title in 20.22 seconds.
Away they go, first time, and Quarry got a magnificent start in lane 2, and Quarry really taking them off, and wants to lapse on the track, I'm not quite sure it is, and there's another one down, Hampton it looks like, no, Hampton in the centre, there's Quarry, and Quarry comes home in front with Hampton in second place, Evans third, and Benny in fourth, and Quarry, the silver medalist in the 100, takes the 200 from Hampton, and in third place was Evans with Benny in fourth.
You just experienced a Jamaican Olympic triumph in Jamaica Gold, a golden spotlight.
Brought to you by Horton's Pharmacy. Horton's RX Pack for better medication management.
27 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is Nationwide at 5. We're into the final hour now. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Siobhan Campbell.
And before we go to the callers, you know the numbers to call us. 876-630-9371-4. That's 876-630-9371-4. Or
876-618-8255.
All right, good. Well, there was an experience in St. Catherine this afternoon, Redwood in St. Catherine, and we have a bit of video I want to share with you. Yeah? Hailstones, yeah? During a downpour. And the people of Redwood were quite excited, some surprised, some, looking on in awe as to what was happening in their community of Redwood in St. Catherine this afternoon. For those who are on our YouTube channel, yeah? Let's listen and watch this.
Hail dropping in Redwood. That's hail. Wow, this is beautiful. That's hail. Hail dropping in Redwood. What a scene. Wow. Wow.
No. Have you ever seen that, Siobhan?
No, that's quite a sight.
And these were some big hailstones, man. Yeah, pelting down in Redwood in St. Catherine this afternoon. And some people are just...
I can imagine that. I can imagine many Jamaicans see hail regularly, so that must be quite the visual treat to
In Jamaica?
Exactly.
I don't know if it's regularly seen in Jamaica.
I'd say it must be quite the visual treat for a Jamaican to see something like that.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the people of Redwood had a treat, according to Siobhan. I don't know. Richie, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Siobhan.
Good evening, Richie.
Good evening.
So what you saying about the alien?
Huh?
Siobhan.
Come again?
What you saying about the alien?
No, I've seen neither hail nor snow in my lifetime.
Well, so when I see snow at Jamaica, I don't everybody have seen. But I see hail when I take up here, man.
Where you saw it? Where in Jamaica?
I don't remember exactly where because I live so many places, but I sure see.
Uh-huh.
Yes, man. All right. Even and then you see the isolated rain falling, it's like that you see here.
When you see what?
Isolated rain falling heavily, big drops of rain. The normal come with hail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yes, I have some topics now.
Mm-hmm.
On Monday evening, I listened to Ricardo and the Bango man interviewed a man by the name of John Clark. And his closing statement is why the Prime Minister cannot declare statutory deduction in 2 years. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm asking if you remember that Greg Christie referred the Prime Minister to the DPP for conflict of interest. He withdrew it, retweeted and withdrew it again. They were trying to tell him to bring him down. And when they bring him down, they would bring down the party and give Mark Gordon the head. And I believe they would pressure the president to call the election. And Mark Gordon become the Prime Minister. That was my belief about it. It didn't happen. Now they are saying that he cannot declare his statutory deduction in 2 years. And if he cannot declare his statutory deduction in 2 years, why they don't publish it and bring him down then? It seems like that,
The Prime Minister.
Let's be clear, Richie.
Yes.
The Prime Minister cannot declare his statutory declaration.
No. The Integrity Commission
Cannot certify. Certify. It's certified.
Yes, precisely.
They should declare. That's what they should do now. Just publish it and bring it down. Bring it down. Let's go.
So you want the Integrity Commission to simply just publish the declarations of the Prime Minister as
The
is?
man keeps saying, the Prime Minister keeps saying, I give them everything that they ask for.
Mhm.
And they are saying that they cannot declare it.
No,
So I
it's not that
just
he
believe
can't
that what
declare
they-
it. No, that's not the right term. Get it right. The
Yes,
Prime
tell me.
Minister submits his declarations
Uh-huh.
to the Integrity Commission. Then it is the job of the Integrity Commission to check and to verify that what he has submitted
Is right.
is correct.
But-
yes?
but he
and
have
that
to
process process is called certifying the declarations.
Yes.
That is what
But-
they have not done in over 2 years.
Yes.
For whatever reason, we don't know and they won't tell us. And I
Yes.
don't know why they won't tell us. But
Yes, that's the point I'm making. Because
Yeah.
the Prime Minister have been saying, I give them everything that they have for. So if you give them everything that they have for, the Prime is confident that he is right, he's safe. So I believe they should do that now and let the public know. For 2 years, why? And they claim Golden one. You see my point, though? Next, moving on. I listen, Dr. Whatever name this evening, talking about, Constitution, and he should not revoke his citizenship in England. Talking about abortion, they don't know. I'm asking him if they believe Constitution can't help them at the poll. The question is, if Constitution can vote for them at the poll, the people are going to send them a big message for it, because you are Jamaican, you have a citizenship in England. Why is that you cannot revoke it? You said something wrong. This man to me want to live in England.
I don't know how true this is because I have not had an opportunity to check it, but Dr. Campbell did tell me earlier this afternoon that there was an Observer article where Mr. Golding had stated that he would allow his British citizenship to lapse, or allow his passport to lapse when the time came. But I have no idea of verifying if this is actually the case, but that is what Dr. Campbell had said to me.
You didn't listen to the news this evening.
No, I did. I wrote the story in the news this evening.
Yeah.
And I think there are two different points here, because in that story, Dr. Campbell is simply stating that what Mr. Golding has in terms of his UK citizenship is not against the Constitution as it stands. And if they want to make an adjustment in that regard, they should make that adjustment through the current constitutional reform agenda.
Okay. Next one that you.
No. We have other people holding. Carl, good evening.
Evening, Mr. Yus.
Good evening, sir.
Evening, Shabbat. Saturday gone, Mr. Vaz and Golding was tweeting in one another. And Mr. Vaz keep tweeting and asking him if he have a British, be involved in the British citizenship, and he refused to answer. The Gleaner backed him up in a one corner and he answered. Well, he was very blessed that he answered Sunday evening, because what was there Monday morning, Vaz not reached nowhere in concerning this dual citizenship yet now. Quarter of his story not start yet, Mr. Youth. You didn't notice, almost every day from Monday, you see Vaz, you want little piece. It's a wind up. But
So it seems like you know what Mr. Vaz has.
Mr. Hughes, that's all me I said to you about that.
No, you come here with these specious arguments. You know what Mr. Vaz has?
Mr. Hughes, I'm going to give you a story about one-handed man at St. Elizabeth.
You sure, no you?
No, man. A two-hand me have.
Oh.
He used to tear down people's shop and he thief a bag of sugar. And every time the judge come down, from we are Kingston here and come, in this one, it's on him thief a bag of sugar. And then carry the bag of sugar come in at the court. My grandfather, like how you see Jonah cup and school clothes. And the judge, all right, take the bag of sugar. And Mr. Hughes, by the time before the judge don't tell him so, he call up the bag of sugar and he right for the shoulder. The judge say, hold on, 6 months. 6 months. 6 months. Mr. Hughes, Mr. Golding been walking around. And you remember when he put on a chain for the Rasta man? Mr. Golding did have that opportunity to could dissolving something. I know so we did come at him concerning the white and the black. So if he did have any thought of leaving from the British bases, he could have do it right there. He don't have no mind of doing that. He want to stay with them.
I must admit, I was surprised to know after the whole matter regarding Shane Alexis, and I believe his Canadian citizenship.
Jesus.
The October 2017 by-election in Southeast Mary.
Any member of the political director did not simply look and say, wait, maybe I should probably remove this citizenship thing so it does not become a problem later on. I would be surprised that no one from any, whether JLP or PNP simply did not just make that connection and say, this is going to be a sticking point with the Jamaican.
Shabba, you know what? When I sicking part of the thing is that what these people went on with 2007, and nothing no say them come in the same circle. It is so embarrassing, and the leader of the opposition tell me just the other day, about 2 weeks ago, that when the government moved from England, him right foot nothing left in England, whole and him must come out.
You must have 1 foot left in the King's Yard.
Left that time is a goal in make certain say the whole of himself is in the King Yard.
No, I appreciate Dr. Campbell's suggestion that this is not illegal in terms of the current constitution, but I can say there is illegal and then there's just a simple matter of principle.
I heard a next journalist somewhere talking that foolishness at Mr. Vaz over this week, or since Monday, that same piece of his moral then. Get some moral in himself then.
I just think it's a matter of principle. I don't know this idea of somebody having a British passport and British citizenship standing as the Prime Minister of Jamaica.
So,
that's just simply my point on the matter.
If this man should have leave Jamaica and something happen where this man doesn't like, and the people them start to rebel, nobody couldn't stop him from go to the airport, go jump on him plane and leave, you know. Call him if he do take out his passport and hold it in his hands, you know, and say, see there, I am not a part of, you know.
Yes. He has an option.
You have an option. Where is the big private sector now to talk to this man? Where is the big private sector? That is the question now.
Because I think many of those in the private sector would probably look and say, wait, I have my US citizenship, I have my British citizenship. Maybe it's not best if I open my mouth.
Ask to leave Jamaica. This man is asking to leave Jamaica.
Yes, sir. That is the point I've been making, that when you are a candidate for Prime Minister, yes, it is simply unacceptable for you to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. No.
You can't take up your passport and hold it in my face and say, I'm not a part of you. This is my British passport.
And the other point about it being legal, that is a fact. It is legal. Please allow me.
Yeah.
However, that legal foundation rests upon what? The history of British colonial power and colonialism in Jamaica since 1655. The same British colonialism you want to get rid of when you say let's have full decolonization. So I'm not buying that argument about the legal thing.
And Mr.
That legal basis was born and emerge from the colonialism you want to get rid of.
Precisely. And the very use of the term, let's get towards full decolonization. I was genuinely shocked to find out that Mr. Golding is still the bearer of a British passport.
Yeah.
I was genuinely
I was surprised. I call it political stupidity of the highest order.
And Mr. Hughes, you remember when Michael Manley did declare the state of emergency and fling out Black Colonel Charles and Babsy Grange in a prison with the British he did not hit. And when the British asked them, say, well, what happened to my citizen? Why my citizen is inside jail? You know what they did? They have to let out him and have a British passport.
Yes.
I mean, I leave here now.
Goodbye.
Miss Malahoo Ford, find something to do in your constituency and leave this piece of garbage now. That's when October, November come, we're fully ready. Find something to do inside your constituency. Leave that piece of garbage. No.
The Prime Minister gave her a job to do.
That dead and buried.
Oh.
Dead and buried now.
Mm.
The Prime Minister said him and Golding went to a private argument, and after that Golding jumped ship. Argument closed. Get your constituency fully ready. That's when the Prime Minister say, on your mark, we all ready. Get rid of it, that piece of garbage out of your head. It's not allowed for that.
All right, sir. Thank you. Good. Who is next? The man from Red Hills,
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Cleveland. Good evening. I'm good. You?
Come on.
Evening, Cleveland.
We have a lot of things on the plate now, boy.
Well, let's get it through.
But-
Let's get through them.
I would never believe the way Mr. Golding going on. But you know what perk him up? Him believe him have the parish council election. I don't know him being fooled by that. Same thing, anything him say and do now, he will get away with it. Yeah. Can you imagine the way that man going on? All this while about the Constitution. And yet him have him British passport, lock away in him house, and have the heart to want to for the Constitution now to accommodate him. That him can have 1 foot over England and 1 foot out here and want to be our Prime Minister. I don't see. I don't understand him. And what happened to the civil society people, them, sir? What happened to all these thousands of groups?
You never hear John Clark. You never hear John Clark with Siobhan and
Yes,
it was
me
no
hear him.
Tyrone.
It was Tyrone
and
Yes,
Ricardo.
I hear
And
him, and
was
him
it Monday
shameful,
night
but
or
I
Tuesday
forgive him
night?
because I think him just born. I wonder if you remember the days them
Yeah.
when we the JLP people have to stand up with Jamaican for justice. Remember this? Him not know of those days.
But I genuinely wonder if this is the belief of Jamaican people. We're moving towards a republic. If it's to mean something beyond just removing it ceremonially, the head of the British monarch, do you think in the United States you could hold a British passport and sit as president of the United States?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely
How
not.
this man go be have one passport for out and one for England. He won't give up the England one. And one come be our
The
Prime
man a play
Minister.
boaty.
Eh?
The man a play boaty.
Oh, Mr. Hughes, man, come on. Then you know me, I tell you the God truth, you're going to say me I got a color thing. But if you need like our color now, bad and not too bad. Trust me.
That don't make no sense.
No, sir. No, sir. Don't make no sense. You know. And coming and trying to bully everybody else. You know. Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bunting. Now you tell me if the PNP should come in at government tomorrow morning. We could have that man as our Minister of Security.
Why not?
The way Mr. Bunting go on at the meeting, sir. Go take over the people and meeting, and it's supposed to be an invited guest. And gone there and talking down to the fellow police officer in there. And the officers them to I don't know.
But he didn't realize he had the support of most of those in the room.
Yes, I noticed that.
Okay.
So this country will be in trouble and continue to be in trouble. Because knowing the opposition person who's supposed to stand up for justice and rights in this country and obey rules and regulations and gone there and take over the meeting and tell the people them like them not to open them out.
I am
No
troubled.
behavior.
I am troubled by this constant talk about let's not politicize X, Y, and Z, and the police and crime is almost always top of the list of things that we should not politicize, but there never seems to be any end to the politicization of it.
We're getting back to those old days. If we no man sharp. And what is so about Charles and James? Why it should be such an important person at the meeting?
I think I know the reason to that. You know the reason for that.
Mr. Hughes, we're not trouble in this place, you know.
Yep.
We're not worried for trouble, you know.
Yeah.
We can't support. But anyhow, let me congratulate one of your newsmen. I see him at the cabinet briefing this morning and asking some questions. I can't call your name. What name?
Mahiri.
When get that name there, sir?
No, in parents' game.
It's a strange question.
All right,
I see him
Cleveland.
angle himself quite well.
Yeah, man, the man angling bangle.
Yes.
Good. You know, this morning I made some comments about Mr. Bunting's speech at the Police Federation conference. And the main point I was making was that Mr. Bunting ought to be careful and don't go back down that road, because it's a road we have traveled to the detriment of our country when we politicized the JCF to the point where it lost credibility, to the point where policemen were known as PNP police or JLP police, commissioners known as JLP commissioner or PNP commissioners, where politicians used to call up their police officer who they know is loyal to them, yes, and have them do things that are not in the interest of the country. That was grossly unprofessional.
Precisely.
And I made the point that it got so bad that KD Knight, Keith Desmond Knight, who became Minister of National Security and Justice under the PNP administration after it returned to power in 1989, spent a considerable amount of time and effort, to reduce, if not eliminate, the politicization of the force, that had become virtually entrenched. And I recall KD Knight having to lead that. He called me this afternoon to remind me of how difficult it was. Yes? And he made the point that he had to brought amendments of the Constabulary Force Act, Section 3, he says, yes, as part of that push to reduce the politics in the force. And, in my commentary this morning, in one of my statements, I juxtaposed that and said words to the effect that ministers used to really call police officers and give them directions. And I said under KD Knight's watch. That was, of course, not what I meant. Yes, and I want to make that clear. If you listen to my comments in totality, you know that's exactly what I was not saying. But the point remains that for Jamaicans who were not around in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, we must resist the political temptation, the political expediency to go back to a time when politicians directed the force. In fact, to the credit of KD Knight and the PJ Patterson administration of the 1990s, that was when they made it clear that ministers are to
mandated on
set policy.
Policy.
Commissioners.
Not operations.
Exactly. Operation. And it's a policy that continues to serve us today. Yeah? The High Command and the Commissioner are to deal with the operational matters. They are to decide who goes where and when and does what. And the minister is to set policy, not operation. And when you listened to Mr. Bunting yesterday, I think he is trampling on that policy.
And it should be noted that we've built so many fine institutions in this country as an experience of the early days of our political or political past. And we need to protect them. Let's juxtapose this matter of the police force and the concerns raised there to concerns raised about the ECJ and having the ECJ essentially become a meddler in the day-to-day minutiae of politics,
yes.
and the concerns and cautions raised there.
Mm-hmm.
We can now expand those same concerns and cautions to the JCF.
Yes.
We've built the JCF, we've insulated it from the political directorate up to a point. Why would you then want to do away with that?
Absolutely, you don't. And we suffered for it. Yeah.
And we can also point to the Integrity Commission. I think the Holness administration took quite a bit of flack for many who perceived that they were trying to attack and denigrate the Integrity Commission because that's an institution in the process of being built. It hasn't reached the level of maturity as many of the others. But we understand the caution when you're dealing with an institution that you're trying to build trust in the Jamaican people, that they can believe it is something they can count on in the future. So we should apply that principle broadly. For example, you should not, as a political leader, be questioning the statistics provided by the Jamaica Constabulary Force as to suggest that somehow they're trying to hide the truth from the Jamaican people.
And the attacks on the High Command by Mr. Bunting. Yeah? The same High Command that he will be, who will have to...
in a future administration, possibly lead.
Exactly.
And guide in terms of policy.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Let's not go back there. Do we have another caller now? Richard, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Hughes. I have a few simple questions for you, sir.
No. You ask your questions, I answer them.
Mr.
Ask me.
If and when Jamaica become a republic, what happened to the crown land? Do we have to buy them or they'll be handed over?
No, sir.
It just becomes state land.
State land, not a name, not a word.
The state land, then, Would you have to pay for them or will it be handed over automatically?
Pay who?
I'm just asking, I don't know.
Pay who? I'm asking, think
it's
about
Jamaica's
it.
land.
Our own.
People. Jamaican government. Automatically hand over, right?
Yeah, what the government should do at that point is really now to look at giving our own internal reparations to the descendants of slaves who were left landless after being exploited, without any wages for 300 years or 200 plus years, and give their descendants, land.
But Mugabe tried that and the world turned against him.
Oh, we'd have to do it Mugabe's way. We can find our own way of doing it.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I totally agree with what you're saying here. And I've listened, I was listening to another radio station after you came off today, and one guy was saying that, a lot of the PNP were saying that they don't have a problem with Mangolian and his British passport. Including your friend John.
You wouldn't expect otherwise from
not at all.
From that head.
Yes.
No.
But for me, I as I told you some time ago, I want to see the Supreme Court become this final court of arbitration in Jamaica. The Court of Appeal should be the one that the parish court people appeal to. And then if you don't get justice, then you go to the Supreme Court. And I don't know if that's going to be possible.
Yeah.
And my other question, so why is it Trinidad choose to use the Privy Council and not the CCJ, and it's in their backyard? Any specific reason?
Political disagreement. So plain and simple. Political disagreement.
It's not only we alone having the problem in terms of the contention over the CCJ, sir. We are not a singular in that regard.
But the St. Vincent people did vote against it in a referendum.
Yes, they voted against it, yes. And I think it will meet the same fate here.
But I just want to see the Supreme Court be the final court of arbitration here. And my final question...
No, you did say that was your final one. I want to say so.
What is the track record? Because we hear about Shani Mary. What is the track record of the CCJ?
It's pretty good based on what the scholars have found in terms of the judgments. Yes, pretty good. Solid.
Okay. Because one case of Shani Mary cannot give me a definite understanding of how the rulings and how accepted it is.
All right, Richard, that's it from us for this evening. Thanks to Richard and all of our callers, our YouTubers, our WhatsAppers, and our tweets. The members of the news and production team led by our editor, Cara Power. I'm Cliff Hughes.
Are they still called tweeps though?
By the way, that young man over there is celebrating a birthday today. Boogs, happy birthday. Yes? And I see you get a whole heap of gifts. A whole heap of gifts. Are you going home to more? Have a good night, Boogs.
Well, I'm Shelvon Campbell. Have a good evening.
And I'm Cliff Hughes, reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
I stay locked to the Olympics because, of course, I'm Jamaican. What you mean? Me, I have to tune into the Olympics, man. Because I'm always busy, but what? I have to know when Sherika Jackson beat Shakari.